Morning from 10 a.m. We'll talk to you then. Up next, our very own Daddy Bear. That sounds so wrong, actually.
It sounds great.
Sounded better in my head.
Yeah, okay, listen. Thank you very much. Keep it in your head. It's fine. I'm happy there. All right. Thanks very much, Roy. Enjoy your weekend. It is the 9 till noon show. I hope that's not a new nickname. But anyway, look, if it works. It is the 9 till noon show. It's time for the news headlines. Good morning to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Fresh efforts are being made today to break the impasse preventing the restoration of power-sharing government in Northern Ireland. Taoiseach Micheál Martin travels to Belfast for more talks with political and business leaders. The Foreign Affairs Minister Simon Coveney, meanwhile, will have discussions on the margins of a Council of Europe meeting in Turin with the British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. She's proposed unilateral legislative changes to the Northern Ireland Protocol. The Sinn Féin president says she believes there could be a united Ireland within 10 years. They became the largest party in the Assembly at the recent election and is poised to nominate Michelle O'Neill as First Minister if and when power sharing is restored. Well, Mary Lou MacDonald says it raises the issue of a border poll and the Dublin and London governments need to prepare.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I believe that we will see constitutional change in the course probably of the next decade. Of that there is no doubt. And we need to prepare for that. And the appetite for change across Ireland would really lift your heart.
A group representing hotel owners estimates there are 9,000 job vacancies in the sector. The Irish Hotels Federation is encouraging people to consider a career in hospitality as Fáilte Ireland looks to attract new staff to the tourism industry. Almost 25% of people employed in the sector in 2019 worked in hotels and guest houses. The president of the Irish Hotels Federation, Denise Campbell, says there are jobs available right across the country from Donegal to Cork.
In 2019, tourism would have employed 270,000 people, and we would say about maybe 65,000 people were directly employed in hotels and guest houses throughout Ireland. And we would say now that that figure is probably back up after the pandemic to about 56,000 people. So we've vacancies of probably about 9,000 approximately in hotels and guest houses throughout Ireland.
A Donegal deputy is criticising the government over the disproportionate impact that carbon tax increases and the rising cost of fuel are having on people in Donegal. Deputy Padraig McLaughlin raised the issue in the Dáil earlier this week during a debate on providing a just transition to combat the climate crisis. He says people in Donegal have few alternatives to driving cars and using home heating oil, and there's very little being done to allow them access to a just transition.
Despite home heating oil increasing by 130%, leaving a huge impact on families in our county and indeed across the west of Ireland. Not one single cent of help was provided by government. Then let's look at people who have to work and study in Donegal. The public transport system there is not fit for purpose, under-resourced for years, not designed to connect workers to their workplaces. So you have to have a car. So you lecture people in rural Ireland about their responsibilities, but you never meet your own.
Quite a lot of rain around this morning, but it'll brighten up in the afternoon with sunny spells. Still some blustery showers and the odd heavy downpour about. Showers will ease later, though many areas will have a dry and bright end to the day. Top temperatures in the afternoon, 13 or 14 degrees Celsius, moderate to fresh southerly winds. They'll veer westerly, gusty at times. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Dad, can we get these? And a pack of these.
Here we go again, cleaning out the sweets aisle. Wasn't like that in my day. Ooh, those bars are good though. No, sticking to the new plan.
Please.
Remember what we all agreed? We're cutting down on junk like crisps, chocolate and biscuits, even me.
At 12 p.m. on Saturday, Jerry started putting fewer treats in the trolley. Let's go easy on the treats. Start with smaller ones less often to keep your family healthy. Find more ways to start at makeastart.ie. Brought to you by Safe Food, the HSE and Healthy Ireland.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. It is Friday the 20th of May, 4 minutes past 9. You're very welcome along to today's edition of the 9 till noon show. And we hope you'll stay with us for the next 3 hours. You're going to enjoy the next hour because we have our Friday panel in reviewing the week in news. Might as well get straight in to introduce them to you. John McAteer, editor of the Connell Tribune newspaper. Good morning, John.
Morning, Greg.
How are you keeping?
I'm keeping well.
Fantastic.
So are you?
I am. Keeping all right. Good side out anyway. Maria Walsh, Fine Gael MEP for Midlands Northwest. Lovely to have you back on the programme, Marie. How are you? Maria, sorry. How are you?
Good morning. Do we refer to you as Greg or your new announced name?
Whatever you're comfortable in, Maria. I'm perfectly happy with both. And also Simon Gillespie, barrister. Good morning to you, Simon.
Good morning, Greg, John, Maria. Hope you're keeping well.
It's great to have you with us as well.
Good to be here, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's your first time with us on this item, isn't it?
It is my inaugural Friday panel, folks, so go easy on me for the first one, okay?
We go easy on everyone here. That's why we get such lovely nicknames. Right, okay. We'll start with the story that's kind of dominating all of our lives. We've a lot to get through on it. But we know now diesel prices again edging above €2 a litre. Inflation at 7%. The cost of living's getting beyond the reach of more people every day, I think. And we're going to see mortgage costs increase in the coming months. And then renters are also facing their own challenges. It feels like something of a perfect storm. I'll ask you first, if that's okay. Maria, what's our expectations of government in this? You know, their line is that, you know, we can only mitigate to some extent what's going on, but this is a global situation and everyone's going to feel the pinch. But this at the same time as, you know, public sector talks are already starting in the media and due to get underway. What do you think the government can do? What do you think they should do? And what's within their gift, I suppose?
Absolutely, and I think there's a number of factors at play that we're all fully aware of in terms of the Ukraine and Russian war and the impact that has coming out of a pandemic that we've all experienced and the pinch that has. I mean, to your news brief just now, 9,000 jobs opened in the tourism sector, and how we're going to support businesses as they're coming through their own hard months. From the government perspective, listening to Minister McGrath just earlier this morning, there is a fine balance between the public purse and making sure people are not left out. I do see more funding needed in terms of, particularly in rural communities, in terms of that fuel supports and an increase in the fuel allowance. I certainly would welcome that. We're calling for more infrastructure in counties like Donegal, but that takes time. And ultimately, I think we have to be very, very careful that narratives like turf or changing the way people have been living their lives for generations need to be very mitigated, because it is a worrying time for all. But I also welcome, on the positive side, the learns that we've had from the pandemic in the increase in teleworking and remote working, in particularly like counties in Donegal and the west beyond the Shannon. That certainly helps alleviate some transport costs and the pressures of going to and fro. And I think it would only benefit small towns and rural areas like we have in Midlands Northwest.
Yeah, what do you think of the prospect as the finance department and government try and work out a budget as we head towards the end of the year, with what happened with the two Green reps and the government majority being so slim? I think we're going to be seeing a return, if it ever went away, of auction politics. Those with influence, those with support going into the offices saying, right, now it's time to pay up if you want my support.
Yeah, well, I do think we have two very, very strong leaders in terms of Pascal and Michael in balancing the public purse and the way we spend it. I can't see the type of politics coming to the fore. I mean, we have, as a Fine Gael member, we have a very good track record in terms of balancing those books, but there will be pressure. I can't foresee any sort of, I know there's whispers of an election being called. I can't foresee that, because the three parties that we have in question, I can speak on behalf of the Fine Gael party at least, believe that we're here to lead the country now in the midst of a war, in the midst of a pandemic and all the pressures that we have. And calling on different type of elections now is just not helping anybody, and certainly not moving and protecting families the way they need to be protected.
All right, John McAteer. Touching on that, I suppose that the auction politics, I personally see it's inevitable, because if you've got some sort of an influence, you're going to try and leverage that for your county, and there's a few independents I'm sure are planning to do that, but also too, more generally speaking, the government having to balance everything with this cost of living crisis, current and seemingly going to get worse.
We don't have any real idea where we're going at this point insofar as auction politics is concerned. It's one of the most dismal negative scenes economically that we've seen probably in 40 years, because inflation could very well and very soon hit 10%. And despite the government's slim majority, I don't think it's the right time for an election. I think it'll be utter crazy at this point, because at this point, Pascal Donoghue is already beginning to frame budget 2023. And he'll be looking for cuts here, there, and everywhere across the public service. They're always going to be the first ones to be hit, as if they caused the problem, which they never do. This recession is very different to previous ones in that it's not of the government's making or the doing.
Is that a slip, or are you feel certain we are going into a recession?
I'm just offering an analysis around from what I'm reading and studying. We're going into a recession, surely, because once you get this inflationary spiral, and then that is followed and is now happening already, interest rates are starting to rise, and they're going to rise substantially in the third quarter of the year. And by year's end, we will not have any real idea at this point where we're going to be. We're not too sure what the minister is going to be projecting. He'll be looking at it. He's a pretty experienced man. He's a very calm man. But there's a situation there that's probably beyond him, in that we're dependent on events on the global stage outside of Ireland. And at the end of the day, we have done quite well so far to keep things under control. The hard work is all going to be done, because, government spokesmen, and Maria, you'll be aware of this, they've put $2 billion into curtailing the extensive cost that we were all going to be hit with. Now, that is probably going to run out sometime soon. Can you imagine what that's going to do to a litre of diesel or a litre of petrol? Can you imagine what that's going to do to foods on the shelves in the supermarkets? Already we're beginning to see here and there a scarcity of certain foods. Is that going to get much worse in the autumn? Is there going to be rationing? We don't know, because a lot's going to depend on the war. When you see there on the news last night, hundreds of thousands of supplies held up from Ukraine in grain. Now, we hadn't factored that in. They are producing crops, but they can't get it out of the country, because that whole area around Mariupol is where they would export it from by
and we
by
heard
ship.
we heard the start warnings from the UN, I believe it was, that we could be facing into food shortages. That's going to affect some countries worse than others. The Russians are saying, we're not going to release this food, which effectively is what it is, whilst there are international sanctions. I can't see, unless that forms some part of a settled agreement, I can't, or an agreement, I can't see that situation being resolved, John. Especially, and my particular concern would be for countries that would rely, very poorer countries that are going to feel the impact of that. Maria, did you want to say something there?
Yeah, I just wanted to come into your point. We will have countries, particularly in Africa, that will enter into a famine like we've never experienced before. You wouldn't even see it in the history books if the war doesn't resolve itself. Putin and his army are bombing wheat reserves and farms and farm machinery right now, and where that comes into. For not just on an international scale in terms of humanity, we will also see an increase in migration naturally, because people have to flee because of the famine. We'll also have that with climate, as we see that influx in our climate right across the world, and that only compounds to what people are experiencing in Ireland and across Europe and the world. So to John's point, it is a very worrying time, and the problem is you cannot foresee the end here. because we don't have a rule book for the way Putin is playing this war.
Yeah, and there's a bigger thing going on here because, you know, the West, and clearly, and we heard from that really significant announcement from the United States, they believe, you know, the future of Russia and where it's at and its influence is based on how successful or not they are in Ukraine. So I think they're looking at the longer picture to defeat Russia in that scenario, because if they don't, where does it go next? And you know, we've seen, it's astonishing how quickly something in a particular area can have such a global impact. Simon, I want to bring you back in on anything that you've picked up on in there. I suppose, you know, you'd be aware as well as we all are about the cost of living and where it's going. John's prediction there, which I tend to agree with. Leo Varadkar last week on the programme, not so much. And you know, maybe the situation getting worse as the situation continues as it does in Ukraine.
Yeah, Greg, and look, there's a few things arising from that I picked up on. The first is whether or not it's the right time for an election is a different question to whether or not there's an appetite for change out there and an appetite for an election. And in the past, we've seen sometimes that when there's a government in situ, we come up against a crisis, people are happy for somebody just to steer the ship and to keep going. But I think this time it's a little bit different, and I think the opinion polls are reflecting that. I think there's a real appetite for change that hasn't really gone away from the last election. In fact, it's grown. So whether or not it's the right time is a different question. Like, if we look at the shape of the parties at the moment and how they're looking, I mean, Sinn Féin are coming off the crest of a wave in terms of a momentous result in the 6 counties. From speaking with grassroots, and maybe Maria will disagree with me on this, but from speaking with a lot of grassroots Fine Gael members, Greg, here in the county, I think they're at a stage where they're hanging on for Leo to get back into power when the swap comes and he becomes Taoiseach again. But there's also a silent acceptance, I think, that a few years in opposition wouldn't be a bad thing. But I think if we look at Fianna Fáil and how they're looking, I think an election is a little bit more tempting for Fianna Fáil insofar as that it would allow them to refresh their leadership, which is a question that's been playing on a lot of Fianna Fáil members' minds for a long time. So I suppose the question as well in terms of an election is, what's it going to take? I know we have a small majority now in terms of a government majority in the Dáil, but we've been through so many crises.
I just wonder, though, you know, when things are uniquely internal, you know, I think the argument for election or change of administration is stronger. This is a situation, though, where the government can look at external factors. What we're dealing with, we're having to make changes because of the global situation with the climate, and you only have to see what's happening in India and Australia. Now, Australia is almost being deemed, much of it, uninsurable and uninhabitable. And of course, what's happening in India there, people can't even work. The heat is such. Then we have what's going on in Ukraine outside of the government's control, and the ripples of that, the global trends in terms of the economy. It's not unique to Ireland, and everything is sort of starting to feel like it did for me anyway, around about 2007, 2008. So maybe as things, and Boris Johnson's probably benefiting from this in Britain, as things worsen everywhere, does it take the pressure off a national government, I wonder?
Well, I mean, again, yeah, absolutely there are international factors at play here, and I don't think anybody's denying that. But what people are really worried about are the things that aren't in control, in the government's control domestically, from who I'm speaking with. I'll give you 2 examples. People, I think, are afraid. The fact that we're in May, we're at a cost of living crisis and people's budgets are really being squeezed, and they know that there's no help coming until October. I think it's a real worry for people. The second thing I'd say is take something like the housing crisis. I mean, international factors haven't really factored into the housing crisis. I mean, that's something of our own making for years and years and years. And I'm a renter, Greg. I rent in Gweedore here, and I'm very lucky to have a very good landlord. I rented in Dublin, my wife and I, before that. We've paid the extortionate rents. We're still paying the extortionate rents. And I have plenty of friends and family members in Dublin who would love to move home. But the shortage of houses in Donegal is a huge factor. And I don't know if you spoke about this during the week. I think I heard it on Highland at some stage that there were 23 houses available for rent in the entire county at some point this week. I mean, that's a shocking statistic.
Did you see how many? Did you see how many were available on Airbnb though? I think it's 67 times more houses available in Donegal on Airbnb than are available for rent.
So that's exactly feeding into what I'm saying. There are things within a government's control domestically that could have a real impact on people when it comes to the cost of living crisis. So yes, there are international factors, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that, and I don't think people are buying the line that we can't do anything.
Okay, I want to bring John back in here, but Maria, I know you were up recently in Donegal. It's always good to have you up here at a Fine Gael party meeting, and I think it was the same time Leo Varadkar was here. And I don't expect you to reveal any secrets, but it's not going to stop me from asking the question. What was, as much as you want to say or prepared to say, what was the mood amongst members here? Because people I chat to, they are sort of at the stage saying, well, you know what? And I think Leo Varadkar was prepared to lead Fine Gael into opposition at the start of the last election, after the last election, sorry. Do you get a sense that people say, right, well, you know what, maybe it is time to let someone else have a go. Let's see what it's like when you're not on the sidelines and you're out in the field of play. Whether that's the right or wrong way to feel, is that what your party rank and file are feeling, I wonder?
No, I mean, to Simon's point, there is excitement that, Taoiseach will step into the Taoiseach role and Leo will take lead once again. That's an exciting time, particularly as the country is somewhat opening up from the pandemic. A sideline of all the serious issues we're discussing here. But I was in Ballyshannon last Saturday meeting with businesses and people in the town, as well as, to your point, up in Letterkenny and Milford the week prior with Taoiseach. There was an option to go into opposition, but ultimately, when opposition was not stepping into the role of government, and we're coming into a pandemic, and someone had to lead the country, then I for sure was one of those parliamentary party members that were most outspoken about us going into government. Nobody gets into, and you've heard Leo say this several times before, nobody gets into politics to stand on the sidelines, and if they do, well, they're not representing, in my belief, they're not representing their constituents as best as they could in their community. So absolutely, would opposition perhaps be a comfortable place to be after a number of years in government, perhaps, but that's not the best for the country, and Fine Gael certainly doesn't do politics that way.
And it could never really be an ambition to be in opposition. It wouldn't make sense.
Absolutely. We do have a number of deputies, I think, that would happily sit in opposition and stand for outside of the Coliseum.
Maybe you need new deputies if that's the attitude.
That's where every vote and every voice gets counted in every election.
John McAteer, and also on this issue, and as I say, I don't want to be all doom and gloom about where we're at, because we seem to be going from one crisis to the next, but unfortunately this is the world we're living in. The conversations we're having now, John, it means that maybe someone might decide, we'll not go out this weekend, we'll hold on to that money in case the starter goes in the car or to change the front tyres in the car. We'll not take that advert out on the radio station, or we won't buy that newspaper, or we might not drink as much coffee. And that this sort of discretionary spend, even those with money start getting to tighten the purse strings as well. That's the effect we can start feeling as well locally, and from a business perspective, I presume, if people are cautious and nervous about the future.
Exactly, but I mean, that demand that Simon referred to there about a need for change hasn't gone away, but it has been overtaken by people's own personal situations in their household budgets and in their race to try and keep up with repayments and all that goes into that there. Many people have the benefit of being able to work from home. I use that word very sparingly because in many ways it's not a benefit from working from home, because even though the government says they're losing out heavily, the reality is that people are entitled to work from home. It's costing money to work from home. There's no point in saying it's not. The heat's going to be on, electricity's going to be on, you're using up broadband space, and you're doing all of these things. But away from all that there, we're just in a very precarious position within our economy, something that's going to be very difficult to manage over the next 12 months. Now, whether we'll have an election in that time, presumably, if things go downhill, there'll be a huge call for an elections. And again, it's going to end up much like the last time. There was demand for change. There should have been change. But at the end of the day, and Maria, you can come back on this if you want to, it'll happen the next time again. There will be a conspiracy between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to keep Sinn Féin out of power at all costs, because this is the last thing they want. And that is the bottom line. Politics is very, very cynical. And when you see the procrastination around Leo Varadkar insisting that they needed to go back to the backbenches to rebuild their organisation, what happened to that? I mean, that was a year last February. He was totally adamant that they needed to go back for a period of sort of rebuilding. It didn't happen. Where are they now? I know Leo Varadkar was here in Donegal 2 weeks ago. He had a very good AGM in Letterkenny. But how many young people had you there, Marie?
We just to come in on that, I mean, just from your first point, absolutely, Leo had made commentary about going into opposition after the last election and the results of his. But if opposition members are not stepping up to the fore, John, then where does that leave the country? We have examples of Stormont in there. If Sinn Féin and other opposition members don't want to come in and lead the country, then where hands are tied in terms of leading that country then. And to your point on younger people, we actually had a number of younger people in the room. We do have to rebuild a base in terms of young Fine Gael, absolutely. But there's members like myself who didn't grow up in party politics who are coming into politics more and more now, particularly women and minority community members that are looking at Fine Gael and looking at leaders like Leo Varadkar and Simon Coveney in terms of leading any government, whether it be this one. And I don't foresee a call for a general election. I do not foresee that. And if it is, it's coming from opposition, and we could be ended up back where we were in 2020, where they didn't want to step in the first place.
Well, you started it, Simon. Do you think there's an appetite? Do you think there is, finally, before we take our first break and move on to our next subject, is there an appetite amongst the public for an election? I would have thought, to be honest with you, if the public, if it was really being driven by the public, we'd see more people in an organised way out on the streets, or in a more organised way on social media or whatever. I mean, obviously people have their views and what have you, but I don't think there's sort of a really organic grassroots drive for change in this country at this time like you might see in another country. Or maybe I'm wrong, reading the room wrong.
I think there's an appetite for change, Greg, but I think it's more a case that if there was an election called, I don't think people are adverse to the idea. There's been times in the past where, talk of an election was met with, oh, Jesus, we don't want to go back there. Stay off my doorstep. I don't want to see your leaflets. But I don't think that's there. I think if there was an election called, I think the public would be up for it. I think you would see a turnout, and I don't think people are adverse to the idea, put it that way.
Yeah, but let's not forget it, though, in the throes of an election campaign, even as we stand now, the Greens, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, the current government parties, still have, more support than Sinn Féin does, for an example. So even if there were an election called, I don't think we could presume its outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think sometimes when you're in this political pundit world, you can be listening to the same voices coming from all corners, and sometimes you miss what's actually happening in the public. But yeah, I don't think the outcome would be it could be exactly the same as it was the last time. And I'd be very interested to see how the bigger parties could they ignore that appetite for change that the electorate, the mandate for change and the appetite that the electorate showed the last time. Could they ignore it for a second time around, and would the public stand for it a second time around? I think they're really interesting questions. Just
finally, John, a quick analysis from you before this break. Do you think there has been any organisation or building in the opposition? Right, because that's what they were talking about before the election. We want a certain type of government. That's what would an alternative government. And all of parts that it's made up of. I wonder, has there been any building sort of in the opposition benches of a potential coalition there? If you get where I'm coming from, I don't think particularly there has.
I actually don't see it there. I'd be concerned about the Green Party's future after the election, because they're literally on the margins of being excluded from opinion polls at around 2%.
I think when we start having the debate about what's happening, where we're at, I think that there is a core vote there for the Greens, even if some of their policies are unpalatable for so many.
Of course, there's a core vote, but when you have consistent opinion polls putting them under 3%, they're at a very, very low ebb. They've been handed some difficult ministries. Eamon Ryan is under continuous pressure in his own role. And as Maria might have alluded earlier on to the turf cutting, that has been handled extremely badly. The Green Party finds it difficult to go along with. They're not the traditional type of party. They're just more an organic organisation that has a green agenda, and they build from the bottom up on that. They've been doing that for the past 50 years, and they don't contribute to the kind of tribal politics that we have in Ireland, and maybe that's their downfall. I don't see them getting a seat in Donegal in the near future.
No, I don't think they would expect them either, but there are certain areas, particularly where you have lots of public transport, where it's much cheaper to use, and other things, and maybe where your landscape's not blighted with windmills and turbines and stuff, that they will continue to have a certain level of support.
So much of their policy doesn't talk to rural Ireland about carpooling and stuff like that in public transport. There's parts of rural Ireland you could be standing out for the next year waiting for a bus to come by. But by the time you saw it, you'd have forgotten where you wanted to go. The Green Party organisation is of its time. It's just there promoting and developing the Green Party global agenda. It's not entirely political in the sense that they're Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael and they don't think likewise, and they're not given space to develop that.
Okay, just on that, one quick question. These adverts I will get to, but I just want to ask one question from you, just Maria, in terms of politics generally speaking. There was a time that as soon as green stuff was mentioned during a budget speech or whatever, the camera pans straight to the Green Party. Are the Green Party being squeezed now because there's a broad general acceptance that we have to move towards renewables? We have to look at what we can do to prolong the life of this planet. Effectively, can the Greens claim to be the Green Party now, or are they going to be squeezed out through this election or next election? Not just here, but maybe more broadly speaking.
Yeah, if you look across European elections, they're now in coalition government in Germany. So you see gains in other EU countries. So and Germany is predominantly a car manufacturing country, or at least it was in its prime. So you see gains. I do believe, and I've seen it in 2019 local elections, and no doubt we'll see it in 2024. To your point, Greg, there is seats for that particular party in more urban areas. And as a younger voter is coming through, and then we're seeing the impact that our climate is having, I think we're going to see a different style of politics come through. But I do agree. You look at the likes of our deputy Richard Bruton. We have a number of senators, Aisling Dolan, even Barry Sweeney in Ballyshannon, who does phenomenal work in terms of biodiversity and environmental issues. So you do see a more broad consensus and understanding where we need to go in a Fine Gael base too. I can't speak on behalf of Fianna Fáil.
And you mentioned to the young votes.
Gael, so
what's going to be very interesting with elections, and this is why they're
and we're all young here, Greg. Sorry, I didn't sound like an ageist.
But young votes is that obviously Sinn Féin are trying to take a position as it relates to carbon taxes and what have you at the moment. And yet the Greens are going to be, talking to young people in the future of the planet, because maybe they get it more than others do. And parties like Sinn Féin then, as it comes to election, are going to have to say, well, which horse am I going to ride here? And that's when we're in midterm of a government, we don't get into those nuances that can swing votes and things in different directions.
Yeah. Well, the greatest example I can give is my own lived experience. I see, living from the west of Ireland, from a farming background, the impact our climate and biodiversity has on areas like us. You see it across Europe too. But for me, it's one thing having a greenwashing message, and it's another thing having it, as John had said, in the manifesto, and it's an organic movement. It's another thing being able to pay for the transition period from A to B. And that for me is where Fine Gael sits and has always delivered on that message, or certainly worked towards it, that yes, we see our climate responsibilities and our biodiversity needs. Yes, we see the impact the likes of the war is having, but we also need to get people from A to B, and that transition is incredibly important. And the public purse then the public purse has to be able to pay for it. And I hope voters think of that when the next election happens.
Well,
I can't foresee.
The way you're talking, you'd swear it was tomorrow.
Well,
okay, listen, Maria, thank you very much indeed. Back with more from our guests after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Fly with Loganair from City of Derry to Edinburgh and immerse yourself in the live shows and street food of the Fringe Festival this summer, with discounts for children aged 11 and under.
Fly with me, I want to take you there, precious moments of this journey, to where homeward bound again.
Book now at loganair.co.uk. 15 kilo luggage allowance as standard.
Live exports soar as new markets beckon. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Israeli market to open for Irish weanlings as beef price heads for €6 a kilo. Dairy cow reduction scheme on the cards. We have the details. We have advice for your silage trailer health check, and we share top tips for sheep dipping and tagging.
Plus, we have all you need to know as a consumer before booking your summer holiday. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Small businesses often find it difficult to access the finance they need. Microfinance Ireland, the government-funded not-for-profit lender, can help. We help businesses who've been unable to secure finance from banks or other lenders. We provide business loans up to €25,000 to businesses of less than 10 employees with a turnover of up to €2 million. For more information, visit microfinanceIreland.ie or talk to your local enterprise office. Microfinance Ireland, funding small businesses in times of recovery and opportunity.
The O'Neill Sportswear Massive Warehouse Clearance Sale is backed by popular demand. For one weekend only, County GA jerseys, leisure wear, including t-shirts, tracksuit bottoms, half-zips, hoodies and jackets, are all reduced to clear. Open from 9 a.m. Friday, May 20th and Sunday, May 22nd. The sale will take place at O'Neill Sportswear Warehouse off the Melmount Road roundabout, Strabane.
Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. If you're struggling to hear everyday conversations or find it difficult to understand people in a crowded room, you may have hearing loss. Problems like these are common and we're used to helping people resolve them. We offer hearing assessments and will discuss your options. You can call us on 074 91 88 470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
There's a gaggle of monsters you'll see around town, in every colour from bright pink to brown. And just like us, they have hopes, dreams and wishes. A new car, new windows, a holiday diving with fishes. They know just where to go for their dreams to come true. The local credit union who can help you out too. For all of your dreams that are big, small or strange, we've got you covered with our Monster Loan range. Monster Loans from the Credit Union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Your energy savings start right here, right now with Bord Gáis Energy. New and existing customers can save up to €974 with our best dual fuel offer. Find out more at bordgaisenergy.ie. Discount on our standard unit rates for 12 months with fixed term dual fuel contract. Annual savings figure compared to BGE standard rates. Offer available to new and existing single fuel customers. Unit rate and standing charge apply. See bordgaisenergy.ie for EAB prices and full T's and C's.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Okay, thanks for holding. Marilyn McDonald says she believes there could be a united Ireland within 10 years. Sinn Féin became the largest party in Northern Ireland at the recent election and is poised to nominate Michelle O'Neill as First Minister if and when power sharing is restored from within Fine Gael ranks. We have Deputy Neil Richmond talking about the fact that really, we need to be looking at where we're at. And I think the Taoiseach has also made some remarks in that regard. In other words, maybe this is a direction we are heading in. Simon Gillespie, do you think that's where we're heading, that we could, within the next decade, be having a vote or maybe a more meaningful discussion on United Ireland?
Whatever about a vote, Greg, I think Brexit has definitely speeded up the entire process in terms of constitutional change, and it's incredible that we're sitting on the airways discussing a United Ireland. I remember I come from a Republican background. Both my mother and my father's family would have been Republicans, and although we discussed United Ireland in the House when I was growing up, it was never something I heard on the national airways, let alone Fine Gael deputies or any other deputies discussing it on a national level, talking about constitutional change and the prospects of having a vote. It's incredible to see how quickly that has come to pass and how quickly the entire conversation has turned around. I think if we look at the Brexit analysis, and a lot of people compare the border poll to what the Brexit vote, I think what we learned from Brexit is that there's a need to prepare. There's a need to have a long, mature debate about something before you jump in 2 feet first. And I think the preparations need to start for that right now. I don't think it's enough to call for a border poll in the next 10 years and have the debate start 6 months beforehand. We need to really look at the Constitution. We need to look at exactly what a United Ireland would look like. And I think it's people say that it's that it's risky, or that it shouldn't be called for at this stage, that we're throwing the carrot amongst the pigeons. But I think it's irresponsible not to be discussing it. I think we're at a stage where it's inevitable at some stage that the question is going to raise its head.
Well, on that point,
we need to be prepared.
On that point, I think we're based here in the Northwest. Most of us are, based in the Northwest, and we have a pretty fair idea perhaps how it might go here. We have a pretty a good idea, I think, how it might go in Northern Ireland, but this would be a 32 county vote. And anyone who chats to someone in Dublin, they believe Donegal's part of the Northern Ireland, or this is a detached there, and that's Dublin. You can go further south. I don't know what it's like in across all counties in this country, but what would the appetite be like for engaging on a vote across all of Ireland? And, once the argument actually begins and we start talking about what cost it might be, how it might impact taking over all this infrastructure, whatever it might be, all the ins and outs, there's no guarantee that across the 32 counties that this is a vote that would pass. I mean, I think, I'm not sure if a lot of people presume that, but I certainly wouldn't. I'll stay with you on that one, Simon.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, Greg. There would be a lot of hard work to be put in to ensure that people understand what I believe are the benefits of United Ireland, what many people of my political persuasion and background would think are the benefits of United Ireland. That's a long conversation, and it's a conversation based on facts and figures as well. I mean, it goes back to, well, how is this going to impact me if I'm sitting in Cork or Kerry or Waterford down south of the county, where I don't really have any day-to-day issues with the border? How is it going to affect me if we bring 6 counties and add them into 26? But it has to be much more than that. I think we need to see, this is about a complete change in how, as an island, we operate. It's not a 32 county nationalist, tricolours and it's not that type of a United Ireland. We have a sizable unionist population who identify as British. And we also need to not only talk about Cork and Kerry and how it will pass in the south, but we need to ensure that the conversation is respectful and that we bring those people along.
For sure. And we can't base it on this conversation being purely green and orange, because this is a very diverse county. But even conversations like, how many people in Northern Ireland are employed in public jobs. I mean, would that be sustainable in a 32 something as simple as that? Maria Walsh, I'll bring it back to you. Dan, you're from further down the country. I mean, do people talk about and when you're based in Dublin or wherever you are, you travel an awful lot. You have a broad constituency. You know, like, are people, do you think, broadly wanting the conversation? Is it something of interest to them, or is it like 6 things down the pecking order and they really probably are nonplussed?
No, to Simon's point, I think it is a conversation that's happening more and more at the dinner table as well with friends, both online and offline. And to his point, I think it's incredibly important that we're sensitive to it. Given, I think Brexit has taught us all a lot, and all ages in particular. I think the fact that it is where it is years on, and there's still no end in sight. There is immense benefits to a united Ireland from a business perspective, from an EU funding perspective also. But peace is the priority. We have support for it. But as Simon said, you know, we had amazing citizen dialogue for big questions in this country, and therefore something similar has to be done, if not more, in the sense of town halls in every community across the 32 counties, and all voices have to come in together. And we need strong facilitators to ensure that both voices and all voices are included. We also have generations that, like my own, that were only growing up and had moved to this country as the Troubles were ended, but that we have to learn from our history in order for not to repeat it in our future. But I was a part of an event run by Ireland's Future in Philadelphia in March, and something similar, actually the exact same event that Deputy Neil Richmond spoke in Westminster earlier this week. And there's an appetite within our diaspora to have the conversation. But again, regardless of whether you're a unionist, Republican, or you are that white and trying to figure out where you sit on the spectrum of it, there has to be a dignified conversation, and peace has to remain. And if all voices are not at the table, then we're going to have the repeated effects of what Brexit has left us.
And I think one of the things, and maybe it shows how things have changed or how Ireland has changed, and I'm open to correction on this, I think one of the pretexts of a border poll is the likelihood of it passing. A United Ireland being formed. And I just think that's not really the framework that what you're saying and what Simon's saying fits into. But anyway, John McAteer of the Tyrconnell Tribune, its editor, and chief pontificator. John, we were getting on too. Well, I just had to have one little go. Come here. What do you think of all of this? What do you think of all of this?
I'm beginning to realise, probably since about 6 months ago, that the main political party saying it's not the right time to discuss it, that is no longer acceptable. So there is progress in that respect, because the public is driving that. Let it be at town hall meetings, let it be on Zoom meetings. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have been putting this on the long finger, because saying this is not the right time to have a debate on a united Ireland. First of all, the debate is long overdue, given that it's 25 years since the Good Friday Agreement. And I mean, within the failure to upgrade the Good Friday Agreement, even be it in how the spoils are shared out at Stormont, the Good Friday Agreement is almost now redundant, because it has not moved on. It was always going to be a template that would require an awful lot of work. But there is a huge conversation to be had around a united Ireland. I would say 10 years from when the debate starts. We're going to have something, or need something, very, very close to a citizens' assembly. We're going to have to explore all the issues that might be on the table. As Simon said, it's about more than a united Ireland. Is it going to be a federal solution? How are the unions going to be protected in Northern Ireland? How are we going to be protected in Donegal as a very remote region? Because that area west of the Bann has always seen itself as the poor relation from the east of the Bann. There's all of those major headline issues that would take years and years to reconcile. And you'd have to go into this with such an open mind that there's no guarantee that this is going to be accepted. Like, if it's rejected, it's going to be rejected for a lifetime. And that is going to be the honest to goodness reality of it. But until we get that conversation, and 100 years after partition, or 101 years after partition, we're way, way behind the curve in doing these things, because we just don't have the dynamic in politics to do it.
Can I just add to? I don't think it's about the dynamics in politics. It is. But I do hear your point on governmental bodies like Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael not wanting to, but also politically, it is incredibly sensitive time, considering we had a Stormont Assembly out of commission for 3 years prior to this. So I think there's a number of intricate details, and pointing the fingers to the larger governments may be comfortable for some, but that's certainly not going to get us to the balanced voice that one needs. And if we're taking the quick shots, then we also have to understand that impacts the conversation.
But that's always going to be part of the cut and thrust of it, Maria, though, in reality, isn't it? Because it's
but there's a price to that.
It's always like we have to depend on the bigger parties, that's Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael on this side of the border, to make those decisions. No matter how much we want it, unless our parties are prepared to take that on board and run with it. And they've failed so far, Marie. And that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Right, okay. But, I mean, Simon, the truth is we're having conversations now where this is a likelihood, a probability. Let's just say, theoretically, we have a situation whereby Sinn Féin are in government north and south. I presume that might accelerate it. Now, I know Micheál Martin and his Shared Ireland project, which I think he probably sees as one of his legacy policies, he would say that he's cracking on with an awful lot of what we're talking about right now, the groundwork. But, when you were having those conversations with your mum and dad, Simon, was there a sense that this actually could happen, whereby we're in that position now where there is a sense that this could actually happen?
Look, I think it's accelerated. I think that's the bottom line. It's come a lot faster than any of us would have anticipated. And, for somebody who would aspire to United Ireland, obviously that's exciting for me, but it also has to come with a huge sense of responsibility in terms of that conversation. And I couldn't agree more with what John said there, Greg, in terms of, I think the public have gone ahead of the major parties here in the South, and I think they're driving the conversation. And it's based, it's based on, from a Donegal perspective as well. It's something that people silently agreed with a lot of the time, but people are starting to talk about it and starting to think about, well, how would United Ireland actually affect my day-to-day life in Donegal, be it in terms of healthcare, be it in terms of access to education, and jobs.
Okay.
So
listen,
it's a very exciting time in terms of a conversation, but it's a huge responsibility at the same time, and we need to be very, very sensitive in how we approach it.
Okay, huge issue. We've talked about it a lot this week, but I want to dedicate the last part of this programme. It seems inevitable now that we, in Letterkenny University Hospital, that is, are to lose potentially life-saving angiogram services, while a €750,000 piece of equipment lies virtually unused. The people of Donegal raised money for the cath lab, which we were told would be used by the consultant cardiologist to diagnose and treat patients with organic heart disease. It's lying pretty much unused. The HSE says experts are looking at options, but there seems to be a general view that the writing is on the wall for these services locally. Maria, why should our air code determine our life expectancy? Because listening to the HSE, the mood music seems to be that if you live in Donegal and you want certain services, you're going to have to be prepared to travel, and that's just the way it is.
And quite simply and quite clearly, I don't agree with the sentiment from the HSE and the fact that regardless of where you live in a country like Ireland, a part of the European Union, that you would have to run the risk of further pain for you and your family by traveling. Looking at statistics, I see an increase of about 1.3 million people over the age of 65 by 2040. That's by 23% of our population by 2040. So a significant increase across our island. I don't believe travel times is sufficient. I do see the benefit of having clusters in major cities, but I see immense impact in our primary care centres that are not utilised, in my opinion, to date. You look at the likes of Tubbercurry and Sligo, actually have a very good, in Ballymode, I should say, have a very good primary care centre that needs to be replicated across the country so that there's prevention and not just reaction. And if there is reactive care required, that we can move that individual as quickly as possible. And if there's consultants in certain major cities, but I mean, Letterkenny is a major city in our country, and therefore should not be ignored and declined. So I'm very outspoken in terms of HSE, and I think that was a letdown for the people of Donegal and the Midlands Northwest as a whole.
Yeah, okay. John McAteer, obviously you're right across this story. You've got your sources, within it. What do you think? I just wonder, is this going to be the issue that actually gets people onto the streets? I don't know.
I'm going to set one record straight here. In 2007, Letterkenny Hospital got a cardiac surgeon in Dr. Santosh David, an excellent man. He didn't have the tools to do the job. There was a very dynamic Friends of the Hospital movement. There was a very dynamic management. And they set out to produce a business plan to raise 750,000 for a cardiac cath lab that could be used for other interventional purposes, including radiology and indeed including colorectal examinations. We're being done a disservice by senior health officials referring to it as a radiology catheterization lab. That was never the case, and it was never the purpose to raise it, to raise that kind of money. Like, there was no demand from the radiology services to raise that money. So let's get our facts straight here. To Tony Cameron and everybody else, this case was made in 2009 and 2010, and now here we are almost 10 years later, Tony Cameron saying that he has a 3-panel expert group looking at it. It's long past the time. It was looked at before it was ever started. I mean, were we led astray by the powers that be? Have you ever heard a minister, a HSE official, let it be the management of Letterkenny University Hospital refer to the fact that we raised a colossal figure of 750,000 for a cardiac cath lab, because that's exactly what we did. But this dead language of officialdom that stretches to 3 words, commissioning and sanctioning and approval, those are just the dead languages.
But Mr. Canavan seems pretty clear in his language that, if it's determined that certain services, even if they can be provided in the likes of Letterkenny University Hospital, if they can't be provided to the same standard in the likes of Galway, unapologetic, you have to travel to Galway. That's just the way service provision is going to be.
Well, we can't accept that. Mr. Canavan must also remember that for the last 11 years, an excellent service has been delivered to the people here in this catchment area for Letterkenny Hospital out of the back of a truck. And I mean, here we have this huge cath lab, Siemens made piece of equipment lying there virtually idle from the point of view of Dr. David being able to use it or being allowed to use it, because he's not been given the technician to do so. I feel that that's a shame and it's a disgrace. There is a meeting of the Western Health Forum on next Tuesday. It's going to be raised there again. But the politicians need to get more animated in trying to resolve this and trying to do something about it and to clear up the air, because this is doing a disservice. What officialdom in the HSE is doing is that they're casting us in a very, very bad light by saying that this money was for a radiology interventional service. It was not, and that's the fact, because I covered hundreds of presentation nights where money was raised from beach parties to all kinds of head shaves and body shaves and everything else. The word radiology was never mentioned once, and as I said, the business case was made and accepted, and that had to reassure the Friends of the Hospital that it didn't compromise. But this is fairly typical of what officialdom does, and this is why the health service, the HSE, is in effect a total basket case.
Right. Last minute to you on this one, please, Simon.
Yeah. Look, can I be honest with you, Greg? This scares the living daylights out of me.
Yeah.
As somebody who's moved back to West Donegal, we're already an hour away from Letterkenny. I'm 5 hours from Galway. I'm 4.5 hours from the hospitals in Dublin, and it absolutely scares the daylights out of me that, if something's wrong, God forbid, if somebody or a family member is ill, that we're going to have to travel this length of time over and over again, and it's not right. I mean,
35 times one man I was speaking to yesterday has been up and down to Galway. 35 times. Can you imagine?
I'd well believe it, and there's a local gentleman here. I fly up and down to Court quite a lot, and I'm very lucky to have Carrickfinn Airport here. And before COVID, there was a local man here who was receiving very standard cancer treatment, and he was on the flight with me every single Monday morning. And not only that, Greg, but the days that the flight didn't go for stormy weather, whatever it was, I saw that man and his wife get onto a bus in Guidor here at 4:30 in the morning to make a 5-hour journey to receive his treatment, to turn around at 6 o'clock and get a 5-hour journey back down again. Now, that gentleman has since passed away, but it's absolutely scandalous that we're at that point where we're talking about people working from home, talking about regenerating rural Ireland, but yeah, we are absolutely, we're so far behind in terms of where our health service should be in this county. And sorry, Greg, just last point on this. It's a funding issue from my perspective. I think it's very, very clear that it's a funding issue. I mean, I think in 2019, the figures were that there were over 24,000 inpatients treated in Letterkenny Hospital that year. That's 6th highest in the entire state. But in terms of budget allocations, we're 13th. We're 14th in terms of number of consultants, and then we're 12th in terms of numbers of nurses and midwives.
Simon,
that's the hard facts and figures.
I meant to come to this. I meant to come to this topic a little bit earlier than I did. My apologies. You'll be back with us, will you, Simon? Hopefully, you're not a one-trick pony. You'll come back on with us again.
No.
You will?
I've thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Okay, excellent. I look forward to it. Brilliant, Simon. Maria, it's always great to have you on the programme. Thanks very much for your time as well. Take care of yourself. And John, last but certainly not least, strong comments, very concise and informed, as always, John, and that's why people love hearing you on Highland Radio. Thanks so very much.
And you, Greg. Thank you.
Take care of yourself. Have a lovely weekend, John. Thank you to all of our guests. Thank you for getting involved in the conversation. Apologies, we're going to be going to news about a minute and a half late. We'll be back after the news and obituary notices with more.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
At McGee's.ie, you can create gallery quality art on canvas from your favourite photo, direct from your phone, laptop or PC. Simply upload your favourite picture and have it printed on canvas, transformed into gallery quality art for as little as $44.95. Click and collect or have it delivered to your door, ready to hang. Big pics, small prices. At McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny. See McGee's.ie.
Foy & Company are offering amazing discounts on a great selection of display sofas with up to 50% off a range of 2-seater, 3-seater and corner sofas in a choice of colours and styles. If you're getting a new suite of furniture, don't miss the big display sofa clearance sale on now while stocks last at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet, and online at foys.ie.
Make this gardening season a lot easier with the great range of garden equipment at great prices in Watson Hire Letterkenny. Lawnmowers, trimmers and hedge cutters, scarifiers, power washers and much more for sale and hire. A full range of fertilisers and weed killers, and great deals on paint and decorating accessories. All at Watson Hire, Kiltoy, Letterkenny. For more, see TikTok, Facebook or visit watsonhire.ie. Come along to Beaver Log Cabins Big Weekend, Saturday 21st and Sunday 22nd of May. Beaver Log Cabins are Ireland's biggest bespoke log cabin company, with quality cabins, home offices, hot tubs, gazebos and more. Located in Bonamy and Bridgend, this family-friendly weekend features a range of offers, discounts, prizes and promotions. See beaverlogcabins.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a city break this summer? You can now fly twice weekly to beautiful Cologne in Germany every Sunday and Thursday with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 2 minutes past 10. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. Weather coming up, but first the news. Fresh efforts will be made today to break the impasse preventing the restoration of power-sharing government in the north. Taoiseach Micheál Martin is travelling to Belfast for more talks with political and business leaders. Foreign Affairs Minister Simon Coveney, meanwhile, is having discussions on the margins of a Council of Europe meeting in Turin with the British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. Well, Mary Lou McDonald says she believes there could be a United Ireland within 10 years. Sinn Féin became the largest party in Northern Ireland at the recent Assembly election and is poised to nominate Michelle O'Neill as First Minister if and when power sharing is restored. Well, Mary Lou McDonald, the party president, says it raises the issue of a border poll. She says the governments in Dublin and London should be preparing.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I believe that we will see constitutional change in the course probably of the next decade. Of that there is no doubt. and we need to prepare for that. And the appetite for change across Ireland would really lift your heart.
A Midlands North West MEP says the rise in remote working can help alleviate some of the pressures being imposed on people in Donegal and other west and northwestern counties. Maria Walsh says it'll help cut back on transport costs and other work-associated expenses. However, she told Greg on today's 9 till noon show that extra supports are needed to offset the increases in fuel costs.
I do see more funding needed, particularly in rural communities, in terms of that fuel supports and an increase in the fuel allowance. I certainly would welcome that. But I also welcome, on the positive side, the learns that we've had from the pandemic in the increase in teleworking and remote working in Donegal and the West. That certainly helps alleviate some transport costs and the pressures of going to and fro. And I think it would only benefit small towns and rural areas like we have in Midlands North West.
A group representing hotel owners estimates there are 9,000 job vacancies in the sector. The Irish Hotels Federation is encouraging people to consider a career in hospitality as Fáilte Ireland looks to attract new staff to the tourism sector. Almost 25% of people employed in tourism in 2019 worked in hotels and guest houses. The president of the Irish Hotels Federation, Denise Campbell, says there are jobs available in all parts of the country from Donegal to Cork.
In 2019, tourism would have employed 270,000 people, and we would say about maybe 65,000 people were directly employed in hotels and guest houses throughout Ireland. And we would say now that that figure is probably back up after the pandemic to about 56,000 people. So we've vacancies of probably about 9,000 approximately in hotels and guest houses throughout Ireland.
Donegal County Council is hoping for a large turnout at next week's public consultation event to discuss key plans for the future of Buncrana and its environs. A number of topics up for discussion, as Daniel Brennan now reports.
The public consultation event gets underway in Buncrana on Monday, and it's set to cover not only a review of the current county development plan, but also a number of other important proposals for the local area. A review of the Buncrana local area plan will be undertaken, as well as a consultation on a variation to the wind energy policy framework. However, the public will also be consulted for their views on the draft preliminary design of the proposed new Buncrana Leisure Centre that will be on display at the consultation event. The consultation will also cover the details of the Repowering Buncrana Regeneration project that has been set out. The public consultation event takes place at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel on Monday, with an informal drop-in information event from 3 p.m. until 7, before formal presentations of the plans begin at 7 o'clock.
Well, the forecast and Met Éireann tells us after some heavy rain across the region this morning, the rain will ease as we get into the afternoon. There'll still be some scattered showers, some of the showers blustery and in places quite heavy, with westerly winds and the temperatures hitting 13 to 15 degrees Celsius this afternoon. The situation will brighten further as the afternoon goes on, with many places seeing a dry and bright end to the day. However, the winds will be picking up again as we go into tonight. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices for this Friday morning, the 20th of May. The death has taken place of Mary Hannon, Main Street, Moville. Her remains will repose at her home this afternoon from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock, with the house private thereafter. Removal tomorrow morning at 20 to 11, for Mass at 11 o'clock in St Pius X Church, Moville, with burial afterwards in Ballybrack Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on movilleparish.com. The death has occurred of Bridie Grant, 5, Cloncool Park, Buncrana, and late of Middle Illies, Ballymagan, Buncrana. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral from there on Sunday morning at 10:10 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Cockhill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. to 10 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Margaret O'Brien, Donegal Road, Ballybuffet. Her remains will repose at McCool's Chapel of Rest, Ballybuffet, today and tomorrow, with visiting from 7 p.m. until Rosary at 9 p.m. Funeral from there on Sunday morning at 25 to 11, for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in Drumbo Cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Eddie McCaffrey, 52, Leglands Road, Garafhullion, Drumquin. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon for 3 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Langfield, Drumquin, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Seamus McCarran, Finney Dirk, Convoy. His remains are reposing at his nephew Fergus Kelly's residence at Gortletra, Ballybofey. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 2:15 for funeral mass at 3 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Convoy, followed by burial in the family plot in the old cemetery. The death has taken place of Anthony Doherty, Umgull, Mallinhead. His remains are reposing at his late residence in Ardumgull, Mallinhead. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:30 to St Mary's Church, Lag, for Requiem Mass at 10 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. The death has taken place of Pat Oliver, Maharanappan, Convoy. Funeral from his residence this afternoon at 1:30 for funeral service at 2 o'clock in St Ninian's Parish Church, Convoy, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. House strictly private, please. Family flowers only. Pat's funeral service will be streamed live on the Craig's Media Facebook page. The death has taken place of Willie McColgan, Garrison, Ishkaheen, Muff. His remains are reposing at his residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Patrick's Church, Ishkaheen, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred of Joseph Joe Keeney, 23, Fairgreen Hill, Long Lane, Letterkenny. His remains are reposing at St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny. Requiem Mass this morning at 11 o'clock, followed by cremation in Lakelands Crematorium in Cavan. Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to Hillcrest House Residents Comfort Fund or Medical 2 LUH, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Bernie Henderson, née Rolston, 55, St Coleman's Drive, Strabane, reposing at Quigley's Funeral Home this evening from 5:30, with removal at 6:30 to St Mary's Church, Melmount. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 10, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live at melmountparish.com. The death has taken place of Patrick Packy Lindsay, 460, Croghan Heights, Lifford, and formerly of Ballindrate. Funeral from his home this morning at 11:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock, at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Donegal Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Requiem Mass can be viewed live at clonleeparish.com. And the death has occurred of Anne Mulrine, née Ballantyne, Gortna Quigley, Rafo. Funeral from Kelly's Funeral Home, Oakfield, Rafo, this morning at 20:11, going to St Eunan's Church, Rafo, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass. Burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Okay, you're very welcome along to the second hour of this Friday's 9 till noon show. It was at a lovely event in Jackson's Hotel last night, organised by the council, but it was a national event recognising volunteers who stepped up to the plate. They're working in their communities long before COVID and will afterwards, I'm sure, but those that stepped up to the plate here in Donegal, and a portal was opened for people to nominate those who had worked in volunteering, and I think it's a testament to our county that I believe outside of the capital, Dublin, which has a massive population, that Donegal had the second highest number of nominations, I believe, and a couple of hundred of them gathered in Jackson's Hotel last night to be commended and honoured for their work. It was great to chat to people as well. Great to be out and about. It was good to bump into John Wilkie. Hiya, John, if you're listening. Joanne and Elizabeth too, who do fantastic work in their community all the time, particularly with young people, and two people who are clearly good crack themselves. And lovely to bump into the Glenties first responders as well. who were doing some recent fundraising for a new defib, but are a lovely bunch of people as well. Those and all the others I was chatting to, it was great to see them, and well done, and a lovely recognition. And there was more invited than could attend, so fair play to all of them as well. Okay, some of your comments here. The whole world is falling apart. It kicked off with COVID and the lack of materials due to closures sent prices soaring, and Putin putting the final nail in the coffin. When we look at the big so-called leaders around the world, there isn't a man amongst them you could trust to come up with any answers to the problems. These problems are going to be around for some time, and it will change our way of life big time. It will. And we've been through a tough period. We're going through another tough period, and the best thing we can do is stick together and support each other. And people of a certain age will know they've been through all of this before, multiple recessions, the Cold War. Hopefully, as we always do, we'll find a way out. I don't think life is ever going to be great for everyone, because there's always people left behind, but we could strive towards that at least. Fianna Fáil councillors can't be neutral on pre-legislative scrutiny on the new Michael legislation. They are the glue that keep the grassroots loyal, and so keep their TDs in power to keep Micheál Martin in government. If you voted for a Fianna Fáil councillor in the last election, it's time for you to have your say. I just wonder, I'm getting some soundings, and I could be wrong, if the demands for pre-legislative scrutiny, I understand there's been some meetings going on, if they are going to be as strongly pushed as they had been. We'll see if there's any developments in that regard. 3 conditions for United Ireland, says a texter, all end in X: demographics, politics and economics. The latter is the most important and will win the day one way or another. The other two are just emotional aspirations. I tend to think you might be onto something there. Thanks for texting. We had reason to go to hospital in Dublin during the week. We had to leave at 3:30 a.m. Arrived home at 7 p.m. that evening. You know, and there's people having to do that, you know, with people it's difficult to. And you've got services there like the ambulance that makes it tolerable for some. But for many others, it's just really, really difficult. I know lots of people simply don't drive into cities because they don't like driving into cities, yet they find they're forced to. And then, you know, even down to where do you park and all that kind of stuff, it's tough. Hi, I'm in shock. I applied for a renewal of my passport online on the 15th of this month, and I received my passport today. It's one of those simple online turnarounds. Much of it's automated, it seems, and that's good news. 195,000 other people, many with holiday plans, many who've had their applications in for months, are waiting. And there's a lot of disappointed families that are going to be disappointed, unfortunately. I would like to say that I was on the trip to see Andre Rio in Dublin last weekend. I really enjoyed it. Chris Ashmore was a great leader. He was so helpful and was always there when you needed him. Thanks to Cahill, our driver, who bussed us around so safely. I can't wait for the next trip. Lovely feedback. Thank you. Another caller. The Donegal County Council has widened the road at Old Town Letterkenny by Creesmith, adding a much needed footpath. It might be worth looking at the ESB pole that was left in place on the new road for motorists to hit with their car. Yeah, maybe there are probably teams that will have to come in to move that. Can you see the Garda police in parts of the north? Can we afford the free health service there? Asks another caller. Hi, Greg Reed, the north. Not a hope in hell would the people from the north want a united Ireland. Thank you. Because there are other options as well, you know, and we've seen, you know, a growth in the alliance support. It's been happening for quite some time. It's been shown in the polls this time. What do those people in Northern Ireland think, for example? Another caller says a united Ireland is a conversation now taking place with friends at dinner parties. How detached are your guests from day-to-day reality, from ordinary lives? I think both Maria and John referenced that, said that the conversation is ongoing. It was me proposed that on a 32 count basis, and it was only for the purpose of conversation. I have no real knowledge. How big a conversation is it on the wider platform? And they answered saying people are having that conversation, and I think it was it was definitely said as well too that the public are having the conversation ahead of the political parties. So I appreciate your comment, but I'm not sure it's fair criticism. Another caller says, I cannot see anything other than United Ireland working. Everything else has been tried, tested and failed at this stage. The power sharing mess has failed again. Are we going to have to tolerate more years of violence and conflict? The division has to end. We will need massive support from Europe, Dublin and London to make United Ireland work. But this caller believes it has to be done. Another, well, I don't think the people of Northern Ireland would want it, as the health service is free in the north, no matter what your status is, where here it is means tested. Exactly. And these are the conversations that, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of a vote, start happening. Hi, Greg. Could you ask John what he thinks about Donegal European Car Rally moving the service to Letterkenny for the entire weekend, the impact on traffic and businesses that this will have? A little late in me getting my hands on that to ask that of John, but I think that's probably a topic that we'll be returning to in its own right. We'll take another couple more before we get your bingo numbers. The parties tried to keep Sinn Féin out. Every TD should be made independent to abolish party politics. Everyone has an independent vote and everyone gets re-elected on the public's choice. Then you have a party who learn to work for the good of Ireland. Party politics divides people. We need fresh and new politics. Another, after the last election, the people did not want this government. Make up the fact is people are lying in the long grass waiting to inflict revenge on this lazy government. They had done nothing. They've done nothing on high taxation, housing and health. They've turned their backs on the Irish people, believes a listener there. Fine Gael in opposition. They'll be lucky if they get 10 seats next time round. Fine Gael, many of them listening to this programme, have a core support. Fianna Fáil have a core support. I'm not sure their parties of a size that could be wiped out. Or maybe I'm wrong. It's a conversation. Another caller says one more government TD to vote against their own party and there will most definitely be an election. Neil Richmond, Richard would be better leader of Fine Gael, methinks. Another, of course, we're going to have a massive recession and it will be more difficult to get out of this one as the government has sold all our assets, but they won't care. They'll be in opposition. Well, actually, most of the current government ministers will be enjoying their big pensions as they have little chance of getting elected again, and some know this and are already announcing the retirement, like rats getting off a sinking ship, to use a metaphor. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that. You know, a lot of, we've seen one locally. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another. And there will be more around the country that will have perhaps achieved what they feel they can achieve within party politics and are young and have ambition and have plenty of moolah. And will say, who needs this? Who needs me sitting 20 years on the back benches potentially? I'm going to do something different, or just going to go on cruises. I don't know. I think we'll see a lot of people exiting politics as we approach the next election. I don't think what we've seen so far is the end of it. Okay, listen, thank you so much for all your comments. More here. I'm going to get through them. Keep them coming to us. I haven't mentioned the numbers today because I'm conscious that I'm constantly doing it. And if you listen regularly, you know the numbers. It must be a pain, but you know yourself, people tuning in all the time, and we want their voices heard too. All voices, by the way. If you've never texted a programme before and you think, well, you know, my view is not really in kilter with what other people say, it doesn't matter. We want everyone's views. We've had some people who are new texters to the show. We really appreciate regular texters. Love to hear from new people too. Here's how you do it. And put it in your phone so you don't have to remember the number. 086 60 25,000. That number is good if you want to WhatsApp or if you want to text. I'm not sure what the balance is of text versus WhatsApps now, but anyway, WhatsApp's very popular, as you can imagine. If you're from outside the Republic, get involved too. I know from our statistics there's people listening to us in the UAE, there's people listening to us in America, Canada, Britain, Germany. We get people listening online from all over the place and watching the programme too. Your view, equally important. 00353866025,000. And as always, you can watch this programme. It's a different way for you to engage with us. And you can do so by going to our website, highlandradio.com, and join with the regulars there. It's good to see DJ with us. Betty Holmes is there, Kathleen Bradley. We have Fellomy, always good to have you with us. Fellomy, thanks for your input. Charlie's there, regular. And also, who else do we have? Joanne tunes in regularly, as does Rosemary. Great to have you, Rosemary. Annie also wishes a good morning most mornings. And good to see Joanne Sweeney, formerly of this parish, tuned in for the Friday panel. Maybe still be with us, but good to have you all on board nonetheless. Okay, we'll be back with more after we get the bingo numbers and an ad break later on. We're going to be talking all things entertainment. We're going to be asking you, what is your favourite TV theme tune of all time? And the reason I ask this question is because music producers, those who write themes for TV shows, okay, they're upset because if you watch your likes of your Amazon, your Netflix and other services, you have the option to skip the intro. A lot of effort and time and money perhaps went into writing the score for a show, but now we're skipping it most of the time. And many people feel that we're losing sort of that introduction. So either currently or historically, tell us what is your favourite theme tune, from soaps to action shows to documentaries, whatever it might be. What is your favourite theme tune? 08660 25,000. If you text in and tell us your favourite theme tune, we might rustle up a goodie bag and send it out to one of you at random, just as a thank you for your efforts. Right. Good luck if you're playing the bingo today. Here are the numbers.
It's time for Ncbi Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday the 20th of May. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S20. It's game number 20. The numbers are 78, 35, 43, 89, 85, 14, 63, 44, 7, and finally 53. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Discover the Dunnes Stores app and put better value at your fingertips. Tap to browse all our latest grocery offers. See all your 10 off 50 grocery vouchers stored in one place, and scan your Value Club card to earn points. All within the app, saving you time and money. Plus, download the app today and you'll receive a one-time 10 off 30 welcome voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €30 or more.
Getting involved in this year's Bike Week couldn't be easier. Starting on Saturday, May 14th and running until Sunday the 22nd, you'll find a host of events and activities in your local area to suit your level of experience. So, whether that's family freewheeler or a conscientious commuter, click into gear and visit bikeweek.ie to learn more. Supported by Transport for Ireland, your local authorities, sports partnerships and funded by the Department of Transport. Whew.
A huge sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture, Letterkenny. It's a chance to save hundreds of euros on floor model suites, beds and mattresses, dining and occasional furniture, with reductions in all departments. It's a great opportunity to grab a real bargain in the big sale at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny.
Don't just do okay in your career. Do great at Allstate. Don't settle. Soar. Don't procrastinate. Innovate. Don't do mediocre, do magnificent. At Allstate. Great work, great life, great people, where great opportunities await. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
Join me, Brendan Devaney, this Monday for the DL Debate the Championship Ulster Final Special, live from Sister Sarah's Bar and Restaurant, Letterkenny. With Donegal and Derry and Ulster Final showpiece, it's set up for an absolute cracker. We'll have a host of top GA personalities on the night and some ex-legends of the game, including Anthony Malloy, Rory Kavanagh, Neil Geller and Paddy Bradley. If you're around Letterkenny this Monday, call into Sister Sarah's. Where as ever, you'll get a warm welcome. If you can't make it, tune in to Highland Radio this Monday just after 7pm news and podcast it on highlandradio.com for the DL Debate.
COVID-19 can still cause serious illness, especially in people at higher risk. We need to keep protecting each other. So stay home if you have symptoms. Wear a mask in healthcare settings, public transport, and busy places. Let fresh air in if you're meeting indoors. Keep hands clean. And get a COVID-19 vaccine and booster. Let's keep looking out for each other. From the HSE, for us all.
All right, so we are living in uncertain times, and I think our biggest investment and one of our biggest outlays is our mortgage. Now, the normalisation of interest rates across Europe could see mortgage holders in Ireland paying up to €400 more a month, even on the most modest mortgages. They're not the most, but even what's described as a modest mortgage of €250,000. This is according to some price comparison websites. Right, we're joined on this topic now by Mark Cohn, founder of Money Sherpa. Good to have you back with us, Mark. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, morning, Greg.
Right, so the way it's at now is that you're even hearing people who are on tracker mortgages, wondering now is it time for me to switch or to lock in, to a higher interest rate. But people could find themselves, if they lock in for a long time, down really quite significant amounts of money if they read the trends wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it is a difficult question for everybody. And you mentioned there in your intro, Greg, that we have been living in quite odd times financially. If you look back when interest rates have been on the floor and banks have been able to get money effectively free from European central banks. And I think we've all got very, very used to that over the last 10 or 15 years. But the situation has changed quite dramatically with inflation rates. As we all know, we can feel the pain of that in our pockets, spiraling out of control. So essentially what that means is inflation happens when there's too much money floating around in the system. So central banks want to take money out by making it more expensive for people to get credit, and they do that by raising interest rates. And I think essentially what we're seeing here is a normalization. So the European Central Bank is expected to raise interest rates in July. And that means a big knock-on in terms of mortgages. And it's the first time we've really seen this for 15 years. So it is a real change in what we've kind of got used to. It's to use that horrible phrase we thought we forgot, it's kind of, this might be the new normal.
Yeah. The thing is though, there's such a variation amongst Irish mortgage holders in what rate they're paying at the moment. Like, you have the trackers, then you've got some that might be sitting with the likes of, Ulster Bank on a 4+, others that might be on 3, and, others that might be maybe switched recently on 2.1 or whatever it might be. I'm picking numbers out of the air just for example, Mark. So really the options for all of those people are kind of different, I would imagine. So sometimes it's hard to see the woods for the trees, and we don't know enough to make the right decision. Is there some general advice across those bands that I've given, for example?
Yeah, so and it is general, and the thing that we always say is, get specific advice, but to give people an idea so they can kind of think about it themselves. I mean, essentially, I think about it that there's 3 big groups. So, about 60% of people in Ireland have a mortgage, and that breaks down. But half of those, about 30% of people in Ireland have a tracker. And for that group, the days of them going, I'm on a tracker, I don't have to worry about any of this mortgage talk, that's gone now, actually.
Right, so what's a tracker at the moment, Mark?
Yeah, so a typical tracker, and there are different ones. So a tracker, just for those people who don't know, tracks the European central base rate. The European central base rate is currently 0%. Typically, most trackers are around 1% above that rate. So today, a lot of people are paying between 1% and 2% if they're on a tracker mortgage, which is an unbelievably low rate for a mortgage historically. The second group are on variable rate mortgages, and they're about 15%. So there's about 150,000 people who are on a variable rate mortgage. They're paying a lot more. They're paying about, on average, according to the Central Bank of Ireland, they're paying about 3.5% right now. And for them, there's some urgent action required. They need to look really whether they need to fix their rate right now. And then finally...
And just on that, though, because where you can fix your rate presumably depends on where the interest rate is struck in Europe. So someone, say, for instance, on 3.5 at the moment, and I'll get back to a similar question, tracker mortgages, where realistically could they fix the rate right now if they're currently paying 3.5% on a variable?
Yeah, so there are rates available all the way down to 1.95%. So you could, on an average mortgage, so the average outstanding mortgage is 200,000 actually. The average term most people have left is 15 years. So if I talk in averages, it might help people get some real numbers around this. To your point, Greg, it is quite difficult. So variable rates, as I say, are at 3.5. that means the average mortgage repayment in Ireland right now, and it'll be skewed by Dublin, but let's just take the average national numbers, is 1,400. So every 1% is about €100, roughly, per month on your mortgage. So if you're on a 3.5% variable, if you switch down to a 2%, then you're going to be saving about 150 quid a month. So it's substantial if you over 15 years.
But the better your position, presumably, in terms of you obviously would have to have a decent credit rating, but your loan to value ratio, the better that is, presumably the more attractive you are, and your better chance of getting a better rate.
100%. So the 1.95, by the way, is for the better LTVs. If you go up to kind of the higher LTVs, it goes up to in around 2.4. But you're still saving €100 a month.
But the funny thing, what upsets me about it, and I mean this genuinely, I just don't say it, here we are in again, and we're talking, and those that perhaps would need the benefits of savings most are probably those least likely to be able to avail from them. And it's just the way society's set up. It's out of your control, of course. But, you know, those who maybe could have struggled a little bit, maybe dropped a couple of payments here or there, that could really benefit from saving that couple of hundred a month, are the ones that are going to, you know, not be really looked at favourably by some of the companies.
I would encourage people to look, though, especially if they talk to a broker. So what brokers can typically do, if you have missed the odd repayment and you have got into trouble, it's not one strike and you're out. There are certain lenders who won't take your business, but there are still lenders that will take your business. So for that group, because you're 100% right, Greg, because it's exactly the group that's the most hard-pressed, I'd encourage them to talk to a broker who can match them with a lender who's most likely to lend to them.
All right. Now, we talked about the tracker. Let's actually finish up with the tracker customers, by the way, because you talked about what they're paying at the moment. There is the possibility that interest rates could go up, into the mid 4%, okay, in the not too distant future. So they're going right now. Is now the time to come off this, what was what everyone wanted, the tracker mortgage, and switch to a fixed rate? Is it too soon? Is now the time? Because it's possible that these rates might go up to 2.1, 2.5%, and who say they could stick at that or even maybe come down the way. Some experts are suggesting that it's not certain, it's not guaranteed that the direction of traffic will be upwards for the foreseeable.
Yeah, no, I mean, and this is what makes it so tricky. So just to give you kind of a sense of the numbers, Greg. So most analysts expect central bank will go up to 1.5% in stages over the next year or so. So the lenders will obviously pass that on. So you're looking at those mortgage rates for variable rate customers first, going from 3.5 to 5% if those analysts are right. So that's an extra 150 quid on your monthly repayment. So that's why I said earlier, for the variable rate group, I would really be looking at fixing, talk to a broker at this point, have a conversation about your particular case. But to your point, and I don't want to scare your listeners here, but there is no reason that rates won't go a lot higher than that. We've been living in quite unusual times. In the late 90s, for example, I'm old enough to remember that time well. Rates were 8%. That's 4.5% higher than now. That's €450 for that typical customer a month more on their mortgage repayments. And if you're on a variable, then that potentially could happen. I mean, my take is that's a little bit too extreme. But I do think actually it would be wise for people to plan about what would happen if they ended up paying, $350 on a typical mortgage more. I think ask yourself that question. And if that causes you a problem, and I think you'd be very lucky if it didn't cause you a problem, then you should be considering fixing. So this is where it comes back to your point about the tracker mortgage. So a tracker mortgage today at 1% or 2%, that could end up going to 4.5%, and you're paying 450 more. And at that point, really, you would be better off fixing at the 2.65%. And to answer your question, Greg, I don't think it's quite at the point where tracker mortgage customers should definitely go out and fix. but I definitely start to think about it.
Yeah.
I start to listen when people talk about interest rates. And if the general consensus is that interest rates are going to continue to rise, and nobody's got a crystal ball,
Yep.
then I think it could very well be at the point.
And you have to factor in. Can I afford it if it goes to 4.5%? Do I take the risk at fixing it in the 2s, but I know I can afford that? And if you take a hit, well, at least you had the certainty. We don't have the money to be gambling, and there's a certain element of gamble to this. Then you were mentioning a third cohort of people.
Yes, so that is the customers who are on a fixed rate today.
Okay, brilliant. Right.
So
now then there is another group, right? Because I presume when you talk about fixing, some of that's with your current lender. I presume you don't have to switch to lock in an interest rate. Now, there are many of us who are with, is it KBC and Ulster Bank? Presumably they're not offering people fixed rates as they exit the market. Maybe they are, I don't know. So for those customers, would they have to switch anyway unless they passed off to whoever they are passed off to? What are their options? What should they do?
Yeah. So the first thing to say,
with Ulster Bank, for example,
you can. They're actually going to be owned by, in Ulster Bank's case, permanent TSB, but you could still fix with them. Now, the one thing that I would say to people is you can fix with your current bank, and it is easier. And especially if you're trapped by some sort of credit issue, it can often be easier because the bank can potentially look at your credit more generously. However, the typical banks that people are with, surprise, surprise, aren't the cheapest. So that 2.65 rate, you won't get anywhere near that if you fix with your current lender. So I would encourage people to actually talk to a broker who will be able to work out, because some of these rates, Greg, are only available via the brokers. So talk to a broker and see what the switching option is rather than just going to your current bank, because you're probably going to end up paying, on average, people end up paying 100 to 150 more if they're with one of what we used to call the Irish pillar banks.
Yeah, and I suppose it's the same. It is really kind of the same with your electricity and other services in terms of switching and saving and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, are you inundated? So are the likes of yourselves at Money Sherpa and others in the switching game, like, you're inundated? Are you able to handle the demand that's out there? Like, are people facing delays if they contact switchers? And that'd be perfectly understandable, because with everything that's going on, plus banks leaving, obviously I can imagine. What's the story in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, you're completely correct, by the way. I mean, there's a huge rush right now. There's a lot of people fixing, and there's also a lot of people switching away from KBC and Ulster Bank, and it's all happening at the same time. So that's one of the reasons I would encourage people to move early. There's two reasons, I think, why there's a little bit of urgency on this. One, I think there will be even more people when the rates actually do tick up. But right now, we've already got a backlog across the market with the lenders of 3 months. And there's no that 2.65% fixed rate, which is for 20 or 30 years. And that rate, as you said, Greg, which I think is the exact point, is actually more important to cap the potential cost of things going up than it is to save potentially on future going down, because it's almost like you take out an insurance policy when you fix your rate for 20 or 30 years. You can't pay more, and that means you're securing your home.
And renters would love that certainty. They would, if they think, right, I'm not going to ever buy, they would go, wow, you mean tell me that I know what my rent will be for 20 or 30 years? Like, they would jump at the chance.
That's a great way to put it, Greg. I mean, that certainty is worth more than even the financial side. And those 20 or 30 year rates only came to the market in the last year. I think, put it this way, I know the advisors in my office this week all filed their applications for those rates. Mm. So I would encourage, your listeners to maybe look into it. I mean, if they do want to if they do want to find out more, then they can just Google Money Sherpa best mortgage rates, and they'll find more information.
Yeah, if I approach someone like you guys, what do I need? Because this is not like switching electricity, whereby you need my IBAN, you need my customer number, and you need a reading from the side of my house. Mortgages are complex by their very nature, the way they've been designed. So, what does someone need to have in order before they ring the likes of your company?
Yeah, well, it depends on the company, but to be honest, to have the first conversation, see how much you save, and certainly with us, you don't need anything. We don't ask for any paperwork. We just set up a video call and we have the conversation, because that's the first question. Are you actually going to save? How much are you going to save? Now, once you've established that, then you actually need to prove a proof of address, proof of ID, and proof, this is the big one, of your capacity to repay, which is all about your bank statements and your salary certs. The other thing that people should consider is there is upfront cost on this. So typically brokers like ourselves are free to use, but you will need a solicitor, and they're not free to use, and you will need a valuation of your home. Now, typically the solicitor and the valuer together, that comes in about 1,400 all in. So even though you are going to be saving every month, to get there and to switch your mortgage, you're going to have to budget for about 1,400.
But that is if your motivation is purely financial. Your other motivation could be the certainty, and then that's less of a factor.
Yeah.
Right, okay. I think people are going to do it at the moment, even as you described it, as simple as it might be. It might be a little bit complicated until people start seeing the interest rates go up, and then it will become, you know how we are, all of a sudden things become clearer because the pressure's put on us. Listen, thank you as always, Mark, for your input, your advice. And it is one of those, people have to make their own decision, have to make sure they're doing their own research as well. But we appreciate your professional insight. Thank you so very much, Mark.
Thanks, Greg.
All right,
Good
take
morning.
care of yourself. 086. Actually, before you go, Mark, sorry, one question, because it might be quite time sensitive for the listener. They've got 3 years left on their mortgage. They want to know, should they fix it or sit in a flexible rate? They're paying €600 per month. That includes the insurance on it. So they're already at a really low base. 3 years to go on the mortgage. It's hardly worth their time switching, particularly given the potential percentage increases in their costs.
Yeah, and the other thing to bear in mind is they'd still have to pay that solicitor fee. So if you're right at the tail end of your mortgage, you're probably fortunate. But it's mostly the average is 15 years to run. So it's more the people who are looking at. If you're looking at anything more than 10 years left on your mortgage, then talk to a broker.
Yeah, good stuff. Listen, thanks very much for your time. As I say, I really do appreciate it. Right, 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Quick, write this number down: 91 48 234. Fleming Doors, industrial doors, garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Sportswear for women at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure in fresh new colours and styles. Nike Pro tees and vests with matching shorts and fitness tights, perfect for working out or just for that leisure look. Under Armour offers new colours, quarter zip tops, t-shirts with matching shorts in different lengths. Complete your fitness look with the latest footwear from Nike, Asics and Brooks. Look the part, play the part, in store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
AB Plant Exports Group are currently buying all types of excavators, loading shovels and backhoes for export from 3 tonne to 70 tonne. Contact AB Plant Exports Group today and you will receive the very best price across Ireland, north and south. For more information, contact AB Plant Exports Group on 0873 779966. Get cash for trash at Curry's. Bring your old, broken, unwanted tech into your local Curry store this month. We'll recycle it for free and give you €5 off your next purchase. Plus, with mega deals now on, we've got massive savings across the store. So get into your local Curry store today. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
Wetsuit on and underwater by 8.
Aprons on, breakfast orders in, conversation flowing, loving every second.
Every day is different. There's always new faces. It really suits me.
It fits my schedule. I can see friends, do my yoga, balance work with life, and enjoy both.
My career in tourism works for me.
And mine works for me.
Get a career in tourism that works for you. Visit tourismcareers.ie. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Right, okay, we're joined by Paul now on the programme. Paul, thanks for taking the call today and joining us.
Thank you, Greg, for having me on.
No problem. Right, now, I don't believe you're speaking on behalf of someone else, so I'll just let you tell the situation, Paul.
Right, I'm speaking on behalf of a few individuals, Greg. In relation to passports that has come to my attention in the last few days, the people wishing to avail a first-time child passport has become a nightmare. As one of the people awaiting such document as past 8 weeks was contacted by the passport office yesterday and was informed that the passport office couldn't contact the verifying Garda as no answer due to the barracks being unmanned. Told the person that if they could not contact the said Garda, application would be dismissed and would have to reapply. Fortunately, this individual contacted the approving Garda, who had to give his personal number for passport office to contact him, which is quite unfair to the Garda as he was off duty.
Yeah.
And there was, to make things worse, they contacted one of the individuals waiting for a first-time passport, needed to send birth cert and affidavit, to which the person already had done, stapled to the application.
Yeah.
At 20 to 6 yesterday evening, the person received an email. So no chance of talking to anybody. It's time the government start to assess the problem and only highlighting this problem on behalf of a few individuals.
No, I get that. And to be honest with you, until recently, Paul, I wasn't aware that the Passport Office contacted the likes of Peace Commissioners and Gardaí. I did not realise that they had to make contact with them to process the application. If they are struggling to get through to a particular Garda, that obviously is something out of our hands. So we're sitting at home thinking, right, things are progressing well, and there is another thing holding it up that's completely out of our control, and there's very little communication and no means to actually contact them.
No, the like as I stated, Greg, a lot of small localities, the barracks are not manned 24 hours. And the calls are being diverted to main Garda stations.
Yeah.
And the message has not been relayed.
Yep, so in other words, if someone rings a Garda in Killybegs and it gets sent to the Ballyshannon district office, will they even be able to do they pass that message on to that other Garda? It's an interesting point, something I wasn't aware of, Paul.
Yes, well, they don't pass it on, and if they do pass it on, well, the passport office is closed and there's nobody answering. Now, one of those individuals eventually got through this morning, Greg, to the passport office. This was the person in relation to the affidavit and birth cert. Now, they wanted her to send on an affidavit and birth cert, which was stated that she already did. Now, which means that she, at her expense, has to go and get a new birth certificate, has to go to the officer of the court to get another affidavit, and they told her that she has to write her name on the back of the birth cert. Now, this does not state on any of the applications that this has to be done.
Well, I also was told, actually, Paul, and I don't want to confuse people further, that that information actually has to be written on the front of the birth cert, because there are people who wrote it on the back and they're being... those birth certs have been sent back to them saying it has to be on the front. But if you write on the front of the birth cert, that birth cert then is only good for that one process, and after that it's spoiled for everything else. It's too complicated, Paul, and there's too much messing going on, and 195,000 people, including those who you speak on behalf of, are being frustrated.
Yes, like as I'm speaking, like one of them individuals is waiting 8 weeks. And when the passport office contacted her earlier on this week, told her that everything was processing properly, and then to get an email yesterday evening to state about the affidavit and the birth cert. Now, apparently it seems one doesn't know what the other is doing.
Yeah, okay. All right, listen, Paul, thanks for highlighting that with us. It's food for thought, and something we can also put to the post office, the passport office, if we can manage to get a spokesperson. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, thank you, Greg.
Thank you, well done. Have a good weekend. Have you got a similar experience? 086 60 25,000. I know there's an awful lot going on in the world today, and I know there are people in very difficult situations, but there are people, and it's relative, it's relative to them, who have not been anywhere for 2 or 3 years. They've scraped money together in some cases to book a family holiday. They gave what they thought was plenty of notice according to the passport office guidelines to apply for a passport, and they're days away, a couple of weeks away of their holiday, and they're unable to travel. And it's out of their control, and it is causing huge distress.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
If you're thinking of changing some furniture, a huge sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. It's a chance to save hundreds of euros on floor model suites, beds and mattresses, dining and occasional furniture, with reductions in all departments. It's a great opportunity to grab a real bargain in the big sale now on at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny. See mcginleysfurniture.com.
Live exports soar as new markets beckon. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Israeli market to open for Irish weanlings as beef price heads for €6 a kilo. Dairy cow reduction scheme on the cards. We have the details. We have advice for your silage trailer health check, and we share top tips for sheep dipping and tagging.
Plus, we have all you need to know as a consumer before booking your summer holiday. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Treat your garden to a makeover at GMG Stone Letterkenny. We offer great value on decorative stone, garden paving, slabs and artificial grass, all tailored to your needs with home delivery available. We also supply railway sleepers, whiskey barrels and place sand, all available for pickup or delivery. Open Monday to Saturday from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. You will find us beside Donaghy Motorhomes on the Port Road. For an appointment, call 087 647 9121. GMG Stone, just what your garden needs.
This Friday, Around the Northwest is celebrating with a business marking 50 years in Letterkenny. We'll be live from Eamon Harkin Chiropodist, who first opened at Lower Main Street in May of 1972. We'll be chatting about the changes over the years and about Eamon putting his best foot forward so others can too. So join me, John Breslin, live this Friday from 12 on Around the Northwest at Eamon Harkin Chiropodist, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny.
Is your water safe to drink? If your water tastes unpleasant or has a foul smell, it may be a sign that something is in your water. Brothers Tech Donegal provide a complete private well water treatment service using the best water treatment equipment to meet your needs. Or maybe you drilled a new well and the water isn't satisfactory. At Brothers Tech, their expert team will also service existing problematic systems. If you're concerned about the quality of your water, call Brothers Tech on 087 638 7057.
Let BizPrint the Printers help with your business marketing and printing to get your 2022 vision off to the right start. BizPrint the Printers, Port Road, Letterkenny. Call 91777955 or see bizprint.ie.
Hiya.
11 years, Sarah. 11 years.
Oh my God, is everything okay?
It's all off.
You and Paul?
No, my bank. We're breaking up.
Oh, Jane. There's plenty more fish in the CCPC money tool.
Breaking up with your bank? Search for your new match using CCPC's free independent current account money tool. Find your new account now at ccpc.ie/move. from the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission.
Come along to Beaver Log Cabins Big Weekend, Saturday 21st and Sunday 22nd of May. Beaver Log Cabins are Ireland's biggest bespoke log cabin company, with quality cabins, home offices, hot tubs, gazebos and more. Located in Bonamy and Bridgend, this family-friendly weekend features a range of offers, discounts, prizes and promotions. See beaverlogcabins.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a city break this summer? You can now fly twice weekly to beautiful Cologne in Germany every Sunday and Thursday with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, let's take a look at that weather forecast for you then. Heavy rain for a time this morning, though that's fading away. It's going to continue to brighten up this afternoon with sunny spells and blustery showers. The odd heavy downpour is possible. Showers will ease later, with many areas having a dry and bright end to the day. Temperatures of 13 or 14 degrees, moderate to fresh southerly winds veering westerly. They'll be gusty for you at times. 086 60 25,000, that is our text line. Call 07491 25,000. We're heading towards news very shortly, but I think I have time just for a couple of comments. And hi, Greg. You don't know if you do requests, but before 11:30 today, would you please play a nice song for Matthew O'Donnell Clonmany and Claire Bradley Clonmany, who get married today? Love from Matthew's Uncle Paul and Auntie Sally and Paul's fiancée Eileen. See you later. We just won't get a song in today, but look, the request is there and there'll be plenty of music and crack later on, I'm sure. There are people who cannot get mortgages because the rent they are paying is so high. They actually would be better off with a mortgage instead of paying rent, which some people see as dead money. Last one before the news. Delighted to hear debate on Highland Radio about first-time passports for minors. My friend went to Spain yesterday, leaving their 6-month baby at home, despite the application for a passport sent in March. It's ridiculous, and your speaker addressed some of the problems involved. Yeah, indeed. Lots of people out there not in the same boat. Okay, we are going to be easing ourselves into the weekend, putting away the serious stuff, talking more frivolous nonsense, some might see it, but be that as it may, it's going to be the entertainment item coming up for you shortly. But it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for a news update. Good morning, Donald.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Fresh efforts are being made today to break the impasse preventing the restoration of power-sharing government in the north. Minister Simon Coveney is meeting with British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss on the margins of a Council of Europe meeting in Turin. While the Taoiseach is in Belfast, he's having discussions there with political and business leaders. A Midlands North West MEP says the rise in remote working can help alleviate some of the pressures being imposed on people in Donegal and other western counties. Maria Walsh says it'll help cut back on transport costs and other work-associated expenses. However, she told Greg on today's 9 to Noon show that extra supports are still needed to offset the increases in the cost of fuel. And the AA said this morning government excise reliefs on motor fuel are on the verge of being wiped out. Prices for premium diesel have gone above €2 once again despite cuts in excise duty. Gardaí say the rising cost of fuel could lead to an increased level of theft into the summer. Donegal County Council has opened the public consultation on the Letterkenny 2040 regeneration strategy. It sets out detailed design concepts for 11 regeneration sites and initiatives across Letterkenny Town Centre. This is the third and final phase of consultation. It runs until June 6th with an event at Dillon's Hotel on Tuesday week, May 31st, at which people can view the design concepts. They can also be viewed at letterkenny2040.com. A group representing hotel owners estimates there are 9,000 job vacancies in the centre right across the country from Donegal to Cork. The Irish Hotel Federation is urging people to consider a career in hospitality as Fáilte Ireland looks to attract new staff into the tourism sector. And a leading environmentalist says Ireland should consider embracing nuclear power. John Gibbons has argued nuclear power is clean, safe and always on, and he believes it may be an answer to replacing fossil fuels. The environmental journalist says safety fears are very often overplayed. And they're the headlines. We're back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Thank you so much, Donal, and we'll be back with more on the 9 till Noon show, including our Friday panel, which today consists of Michael Leddy, writer and blogger, and Emma Costello. Great to have Emma on, actually. She has Emma Talks TV, so for once we'll have someone on who knows what they're talking about. That's all coming up for you in a couple of minutes.
Hear that? It's wonderful, isn't it? The sound of appreciation, of love, of gratitude and joy. Yeah, let's hear it for our ears. Love your ears. Book a free hearing test at hiddenhearing.ie. Your hearing is our expertise.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years' experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Are you switched on to your energy rights? If you're worried about rising energy costs and are having difficulty paying your gas and electricity bills, you should contact your supplier. Suppliers are required to assist customers in genuine financial difficulty and can put in place payment arrangements to help you manage your energy bills. If you qualify as a vulnerable customer due to health, age, or for other reasons, you can register with your supplier for additional protections. Switch on to your rights and visit cru.ie. Brought to you by the Commission for Regulation of Utilities.
The 21st of May 2022 will mark the 90th anniversary of Amelia Earhart's historic landing in Derry, Londonderry, when she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic solo. A number of events are taking place this weekend, 20th to 22nd of May, to celebrate her legacy. Visit www.derrystrabane.com/what's-on/Amelia Earhart 90 for the programme of events.
COVID-19 can still cause serious illness, especially in people at higher risk. We need to keep protecting each other. So stay home if you have symptoms. Wear a mask in healthcare settings, public transport, and busy places. Let fresh air in if you're meeting indoors. Keep hands clean. And get a COVID-19 vaccine and booster. Let's keep looking out for each other. From the HSE, for us all.
Okay, it is time for the entertainment slot, and delighted to welcome into studio Michael Leddy, writer and blogger. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Greg.
And also special guest Emma Costello of Emma Talks TV. Hi, Emma.
Good morning.
People can hear in the background, you just can't because you don't have headphones on, the theme tune to Hawaii Five-0. We were kind of asking people, and we'll intersperse it through our conversation, what their favourite theme tune to a TV show is.
That's a hard question.
It's going to be hard to beat Hawaii Five-0, though, isn't it?
I mean, it is pretty iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's past my generation.
How many theme tunes could you dance to? You could dance to that one.
I mean, I'd say there's quite a few that you could dance to. I mean, I would say out of the soaps in particular, I would say EastEnders. Like the
EastEnders, the start to EastEnders is like me trying to, when I'm leaving the pub, but you have to go downstairs. that's kind of exactly.
And EastEnders had a vocal version. Do you?
They did. Yeah, they did.
Anyone can fall.
Let's do a duet.
So EastEnders is the best soap opera theme tune. Then.
Interesting.
What about like Glenroe?
Oh,
I'll be honest, I haven't heard it.
Good.
That's another dig at my age. I can't. That's the second dig in my age. The Glenroe theme tune for a generation of us means do your homework because bedtime's coming. It's Sunday night. It's have it. That homework that you've been putting off all weekend. You gotta get it done in the next.
You said that a couple of times. That's really.
It's haunted me. It's like I feel like this is a therapy session, Greg, and I need to tell you.
Okay, get it out.
The theme tune to Glenroe. That's what it means to me.
Right. Okay. Well, listen. EastEnders is alright. We're listening to that in the background too. I don't know. All right. I think it's going to be hard to beat Hawaii Five-0.
18.
18.
Oh, that's a good one.
Or Magnum PI. There you go.
Magnum PI. Yes, but do you notice what we're doing here? And again, you're showing your age. We're talking about a certain era. We're talking about a certain area of.
Well, here's a serious point.
TV
Modern American TV shows of the last 20 years, they don't have an opening theme anymore.
1 second. Yeah. See where you're coming from?
Yeah.
All right. The reason I was saying it, Emma, which made me think about this, is you might have heard some conversation about school writers, those that are writing the theme tunes to shows at the moment.
Mhm.
They're not happy with this thing now that we're all doing on Netflix and streaming channels where you skip the intro.
Mhm.
And they put all this time and thought into creating a theme tune, and then we're skipping through it, you know. Can you see where they're coming from?
I can. I mean, I'm quite particular when it comes to my shows. Some of them I'll skip, especially if they're very, very long. I'm like, I can't be bothered. I'll just skip through it. But there are certain ones, like Downton Abbey, for example. I never skip it. I play it the whole way through, even though it's quite a long one. But yeah, no, I can't skip it. So there's some ones that I'm very loyal to, but then there's others where it's not necessary to listen to them. I feel like. If they're not catchy, then what's the point? It has to be catchy.
I watch even the closing themes. I always look
I can't. No,
I always do.
No. Skip right through to the next episode. No.
Is this Downton Abbey here?
It's just nice. It's just comforting, and it gets you into the spirit of it.
Okay.
Which is the point of a good opening theme.
The whole point of the theme is to get you into the zone of that show.
Agreed, and
it does
that's
that.
what by not doing it anymore, American network shows they lose that because it sets the tone.
Yeah.
For if you're watching a sitcom like Family Ties back in the day, it set the tone. Dexter was a great intro.
Yeah.
Because it was sort of murdery, but he was only making breakfast and the music was cool and it was great.
I agree with you. But then there have been some fantastic shows with no theme tune.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Can you think of one?
You can, by the sound of you. By the way.
Go on.
What, did 24 have a theme tune?
No, yeah, it had the dunk, 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 that's sort of the start. Yeah.
It didn't have a theme tune.
Did not have a theme tune.
Not essential.
No.
And then you have shows.
the closing theme was awesome and they used it occasionally when Jack would go into action. You know,
that's quite true.
There's
I
a Sean Callegary, I think is the guy.
So it did have a theme tune, just didn't play it at the start.
Exactly.
There's a few shows like that where they'll just intersperse it through.
But then again, I think programs like Succession, which has a wonderful theme tune, that really sets up that show.
Yeah.
So it's up to us, the audience. Stop
Exactly.
giving out just because you're not winning an Emmy or an
personal
Oscar
preference,
for
The Staircase. I won't say I know the music.
It's very long,
but it's a cool.
I mean, it's
intro.
cool and it's amazing. But I was watching it yesterday and I was like, oh, for God's sake! Like, it was nearly 2 minutes long.
This is the new Sky Atlantic show, Emma.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Now I've kind of followed the documentary stuff, right?
Yes.
And I've watched it all, and I felt like I was an aficionado and all this, and it kind of has put me off, from watching a dramatization of it.
Of course.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
I mean, okay, there's an argument here because I watched the Staircase documentary as well. I think it was actually one of the first things I watched on Netflix. And I've seen the first 3 episodes of the Staircase, and there's a bit in the second episode that kind of hints at something that happens later on. And because I've seen the documentary, I know what it is. So the surprise is lost on me. The reveal is lost on me. I still enjoy it though.
Yeah.
I think it's still worthwhile.
But I think, Emma, a lot of people, and I'm not amongst them, read books and then the sort of TV version.
I would do the same.
And people get
It's
over
the same
that.
thing.
So it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't seen the documentary. I've came close to watching it a couple of times. It's been on my radar, as you would say.
On this non-existent list.
But so I can now watch the dramatization completely fresh.
Oh, so you don't know anything?
No, I don't have a clue.
I'm jealous. I'm actually jealous.
I haven't a clue. I was like, I don't know who to believe in this, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. Emma, do you think it does the story justice? Because, you know, I think it kind of be, if especially if it's one of your first shows that you watched or ever, and you really love the Staircase documentary, and, you know, I think everyone has 3 or 4 films to recommend, and if you recommend documentaries in there, so you kind of get a sense of ownership. Do you feel they're doing the story justice, even though maybe some of the twists and turns are a little bit spoiled for you?
No, I think they do, definitely in terms of, so in case anyone who doesn't know about it, it's based on the true story of Kathleen Peterson, who was found dead at the bottom of her stairs in 2001. And her husband, Michael, was accused of her murder. He's always claimed that he's innocent. He didn't do it. But this kind of really focuses, like the documentary is very much about Michael Peterson. It's based on like his trial. They gave exclusive access, all that stuff. Whereas this kind of gives a bit of an insight into Kathleen and what she was like follows her a couple of months before her death. So you get to see her interactions with the kids, what she was like with Michael, her business, like her like personal side of things. So I feel like it really opens up into her life, which I think the documentary missed a
And
bit.
most documentaries don't. They
Yeah.
they rarely focus on the victim. It's
Exactly,
almost
exactly.
whether or not you have sympathy for the alleged perpetrator.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
okay.
I suppose it's simply what they can have access to. I mean, if somebody has passed away and there's no film footage, it limits maybe what they can do. Whereas in a dramatization, they get someone in like Toni Collette, who's fantastic.
Yeah.
And she brings such life. So they have the opportunity to do it.
She feels like a real person.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And not just a name or a
Exactly.
story.
She's not just a victim.
Mechanism or something.
Yeah.
Right, so that's the first couple of episodes. Then we're starting to get into presumably the nitty-gritties of the situation. Are you enjoying that element of it?
Yeah, I've watched up as far as, so I think this trial is just about to begin. Obviously, I've seen the documentary, so I know how the trial works out. But it's interesting the way they've done this, because there's 3 timelines. As I say, they follow it a couple of months before her death, then they follow the whole trial, and then there's a third timeline, which if you've seen the documentary, you'll kind of have an inkling of what that is. It's that like 2017, 2018. But if you don't know what happens, then you're watching it. I'm not going to spoil.
The only thing is
don't
there's
worry.
like there's one in the documentary.
intriguing.
There's kind of, and I don't know what they're going to show in the drama, but in the documentary, and I think the later stage of it, there's one pivotal moment.
Yes.
With a live mic, right?
Yes.
That, and I'm not saying who it's on or what it's about or whatever. I just, if they hang the whole series on that, it's kind of feel like a massive spoiler the whole way through.
No, but I feel like they have done it justice in the sense that, like, I think it's quite hard because the documentary was so popular. Like, there was, at one point, everyone was talking about it. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't, like, it was like a water cooler moment. Everyone was talking about it. It was hard to escape it. So I feel like it was a risk doing this dramatization. And when I first heard about it, I was skeptical. I was like, do we need this? Do we really need this? And now that I've started watching it, I'm like, no, it's a good thing. I mean, obviously, like I said, the fact that I know some of the twists and turns kind of ruins it a little bit because there's no element of surprise. But like, I think it's still enjoyable.
All right, well, now it's a brilliant perspective to have from you, Michael, because you're watching it, but you don't have any
story.
knowledge.
And if I stay away from Emma, I won't have it spoiled. I was going to say, I think one of the reasons for watching it, even if you have seen the documentary, this cast is amazing. Like Toni Collette, Colin Firth, I didn't know Parker Posey was in this. I love Parker Posey.
She's brilliant, yeah.
Always loved her and everything. Tim Gunny is there's so many great character actors. Rosemary DeWitt. So the cast is amazing, and they're bringing so much to every scene. Like, even when it moves away from the main character, Michael, you're seeing top class talent bringing these other characters to life.
Yeah.
So I feel like as a television dramatization, it stands on its own
But
feet.
I think you're in the perfect position because I love something that's based on real life. But you might know bits and pieces with the story, but it's such a treat for you because you're getting something with it's well written, great cast. You know it's real life, so you can do a bit of research afterwards and what have you. But yet, things that happen, you're going, right, did that happen?
And because it's true, you're like, crazy, improbable things can happen, like all the events happening on the day of 9/11, and you wouldn't, as a fiction writer, do that.
No.
But because it happened that way, it's fresh. And I only watched the first episode, and I watched it last night, and when it was over, I was like, I don't know who to believe. I don't know where this is going to go.
It's going to stay that way, believe me.
Okay, cool.
And Emma, is it all available at once, or are they releasing episodes weekly?
So it's weekly. It's weekly on Sky Atlantic. Let me check. It's
Thursday nights.
Thursdays.
Yeah.
Okay. And do we know how many episodes are in it?
Yes.
8
episodes.
episodes.
There's 5 out currently.
Oh,
so.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
So
and I
another
plan
3
to
weeks.
actually catch up over the weekend.
You should.
I'm going to make the effort.
Well, do you know, in fairness, that's not like you, Michael.
No, but
it's not like you. So it must have, the hook must be.
Oh, it's a very strong hook, I did enjoy it. More than I expected to, because I was like, is this going to be for the people who already know the story?
Yeah.
But it's not.
You're pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
And to some extent, those who don't know the story might enjoy it a little bit more. So as someone who has not watched the documentary, what would you give it out of 10 so far?
First episode for me was a solid 8, and I may improve. I was really hooked, and I really thought it was good.
And Emma Costello, someone whose expectations might have been higher because they sort of knew the story in the documentary. What are you giving it out of 10?
I would still give it an 8.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
okay.
I would still.
So that's the case.
Have we convinced you, Greg?
Well, no, I'm going to watch it.
Good.
Like, I am definitely
You
going to
should.
watch it. I'm just going to wait till it's all out.
And then binge it.
And you know, I don't know what your memory's like, Emma, but I'm confident. Like, we've already heard one reference from you that I didn't even remember at all. So even though I claim to know stuff, it's clear I don't.
Well, that's the thing. Because I was quite intrigued. My memory of it was a bit dodgy. I couldn't remember all the bits of the documentary. So I did do a Google and I read like an article of like a, you know, brief summary. And then things came back to me then. I was like, oh, I forgot that happened. And oh, I forgot that twist.
You could have watched the drama and let that unfold on the telly.
Well, no, I could have, but then I was impatient. So
yeah, exactly. And so much bizarre. It's so hard to avoid doing that. All right, that is The Staircase on Sky Atlantic. I think the TV event of the week for many people out there was Derry Girls. We want your views on Derry Girls. 086 60 25,000, or make your comments on social media. What did you think of it? Did it live up to your expectations? Did it exceed your expectations? I know Emma's watched that, and we'll get her views. And Michael hasn't, so he'll just bluff and nod a little bit and probably tell us another programme one of the actors has been in. That'll get him through the segment, and everything will be okay.
I can't disagree. That's exactly what I'll do.
It is how we roll.
Or I'll ask, what's the theme tune like?
I'm back after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
For a great early season lawnmower deal, visit Gartley Sales and Hire, exclusive stockists of Stiga in the Northwest. Mowers, trimmers and hedge trimmers. Full trade and service available at Gartley Sales and Hire, Gartley, Letterkenny. Call 912676.
Fly with Loganair from City of Derry to Edinburgh and immerse yourself in the live shows and street food of the Fringe Festival this summer, with discounts for children aged 11 and under.
Fly with me, I want to take you there, precious moments of this journey, to where homeward bound again.
Book now at loganair.co.uk. 15 kilo luggage allowance as standard.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood footers available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. 083 091 0707.
Come along to Beaver Log Cabins Big Weekend, Saturday 21st and Sunday 22nd of May. Beaver Log Cabins are Ireland's biggest bespoke log cabin company, with quality cabins, home offices, hot tubs, gazebos and more. Located in Bonamy and Bridgend, this family-friendly weekend features a range of offers, discounts, prizes and promotions. See beaverlogcabins.ie.
All right, you're very welcome back to the programme, and we still have the company of Michael Leddy and Emma Costello. Right, so Derry Girls, before we talk about sort of the programme itself, what I thought was really interesting, the commentary coming from Britain in particular, about how this programme presented and helped people understand the Good Friday Agreement than all of their years in schools in Britain. That they go, oh, that's what it was about. That's what it was for. Now we don't want to get bogged down in the politics of it. So if you want to comment on that, that's fine, Emma. But generally speaking, did it exceed, match?
Oh, more than exceeded. But just on that point, I have friends in England who texted me after the show, and they were like, that's the most I've ever learned about the Good Friday Agreement. Excuse me. They don't learn about that in their schools, which I think is horrible, considering, you know, everything, like the links between our countries. The fact that they don't know about it is horrific, and the fact that they have to rely on a sitcom to get that history, to get that information, it's shocking.
But you know what? Sometimes that's what it takes. Emma, why was Derry Girls so successful? Why did you love it so much? I think you did. You wrote it on the list. You're not going to come on Highland Radio for the first time and say, you know what, you're all wrong. Derry Girls was rubbish.
I think it's down to the writing. I think Lisa McGee has done an amazing job. I think whatever accolade we can give her, she should get it. Like, the fact that she can balance comedy and heartfelt moments so well, so beautifully, so flawlessly. Like, it's just incredible. The cast is amazing. The comedy, like, you know, the fact that I've grown up in the border, I can see so many of like my family members and people in my local area in these characters. You know, like Uncle Colin, for example, we all have that relative where you see their name in the phone, you're like, no, I did that yesterday. Like, it's your turn to answer the phone. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's our life. It's our life on screen. And I feel like we don't get to see that very often, you know.
But good comedy, good writing means that you can write, and I think we discussed this before, Michael, you can write about what you know and what's relevant and specific to an area, but if you do it right...
It's universal.
It's universal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Agreed, yeah. Of course, absolutely. And I think it has travelled very well, hasn't it?
It's incredible. Like, I think that the fact that Netflix picked it up has massily helped them as well.
Yeah, it reaches a whole new audience.
Yeah.
So it's the characters and it is the writing. You talked about how the characters are relatable because of where your upbringing as well. But in terms of the subject matter, I wouldn't ask nor presume your age, Emma. But
I'm 23. It's
but
okay.
a lot of the stuff I'm not recognising what you've just said.
Now.
No, a lot of stuff that it's based in a certain time. Okay, clearly it's before your time.
Yeah.
Did you find that element of it interesting? The time it was staged in, because I think there's another generation that lived through the stuff that they're talking about, and they go, right, you got that spot on. Do you get where I'm coming from?
No, I do. There's one line that the character Granda Joe says to Erin at one point, because she's bringing up her like concerns about the agreement. She doesn't know if she's going to vote yes, and she says, "What if we vote yes and it doesn't work?" And he says to her, "Well, what if it does? What if the killing stops? What if it becomes a ghost story that you'll tell your kids one day?" And that line really hit me because I was like, "Oh my god." That's what it is to me. It's a ghost story.
And do you know what? Just that I haven't watched any of it yet, and I will. I'm not one of those that says, I've never watched that and be kind of. That scene was amazingly shot and framed.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was really, really. It fitted the dialogue.
Yeah,
the way it was shot.
No, it's just like that line really, really hit me because my mum's from Derry. The majority of my family's from Northern Ireland, so you know I've heard so many stories growing up about the Troubles. And like I'll see archive footage, I'll study it in school, and it doesn't feel real. Like sometimes I can't comprehend that stuff happened half an hour away from where I live. Like it's just, it's astounding. And so to see it on screen, to see it be dramatised in the way that Derry Girls has done it, it's just, I think it's so, so important.
How rare is it, Michael, for something to be so seemingly universally loved that from the beginning to the end of its run, you know, what I find interesting is even its biggest fans, I don't see a massive clamour for it to continue. You know what I mean? There's an acceptance that the story has been told.
Like, I fully agree. No.
Yeah, and that's, I'm not saying it's unique, nothing's unique, but that's very special.
It is very special, and you're right about the way it started. I remember the night it started because I was in rehearsals for a play I was doing, and there were several people were on about getting home early because there was this show starting that they'd heard was going to be good. There was a level of expectation before the first episode aired, and I well remember people saying, you know, as the weeks went by, it's better and better, it's getting better and better. So it hit the ground running. It was received with open arms from the start, and so many people. It's one of those shows. It's like the way people always talk about Yellowstone. You remember they used to talk messaging about it. I know so many people that talk about Derry Girls, and I don't think I've ever met anyone who said, "Oh, I don't like it."
Yeah, and it started off with, they've named a place that we know.
Yeah, the first episode mentions Buncrana. I'm like, that's where I'm going to do my driving test in a couple of weeks. Like, it's mad.
But then it went far beyond that. Then so that novelty of the name checks went, and then it was like, right, well, that's what it was like for me. That's exactly what it was like. That's what my family's like.
Yeah.
It's a real testimony to the writing, as you pointed out,
normal
Emma.
People had a sort of a Marmite thing. There were people who loved it, and there were people who didn't love it, but everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
So this is different. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like everybody was talking about Normal People. Everybody watched it, but sometimes people were like, you know. But Derry Girls, it's like the people who don't like it, I've not met them. So it is. It hit that same level of pop culture omnipresence, but it didn't have anyone that was like, I don't buy this.
Is it the best show of that genre you've watched, Emma?
I'd say it's up there. I would say, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those comedies that will be around for a long, long time. Like, I've already rewatched season 1 and season 2 countless times.
Right,
Every
okay.
time there's something, like if there's a quiet night on TV, my mum will say, can we put Derry Girls on?
It's your go-to.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's my
yeah,
go-to,
yeah.
It's a
I
comfort
get you.
show.
And I think you can kind of do that more with comedy than you can other kind of shows as well, because you can background it as well and still enjoy it if
Exactly.
that's your mood. All right, me and you, Michael, at some point are going to have to jump
Yes.
on the bandwagon.
We are, yeah.
I'm
and I will.
appalled that you haven't
I
already.
know. Whatever little respect Emma had for me, I could
gone.
see it going in her eyes.
Do you know? I think there's sort of a psychology to it, perhaps too, Emma. I think if you don't watch it straight away, do you know the first episode goes and there's a huge everything, it's brilliant, and then the second, right? And you feel like you're behind the
It
curve.
gets longer and longer.
And then
yeah.
everyone thinks it's so great that you go, oh God, I don't want to do it if it's that great. And I'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
And then
It's like, I want to be different. I want to be the person that doesn't watch it. And
yeah, well,
that mentality.
That's kind of more of the Lord of the Rings stuff, but I get exactly what you're saying. But no, it'll just then you wait till it dies down, and then you stick it on, and you're later adopted. Love Hate was a bit like that. Lots of people kept saying you have to watch Love Hate, and then you just watch it in your own.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen with me and Derry Girls.
As long as you watch it eventually, I'm not.
No, I will. Like this summer at some point, we were saying there's like 18 episodes now. That's a nice run.
It's very short.
Could be something I could watch.
I think it's cool to say you never watched The Sopranos. I'm not sure it's cool to say you never watched Derry Girls. I think
Especially where we live.
Yeah. Well, you're hitting me. You know how important it is to me to be cool, Greg. So you're right. That's pushed me over the edge.
It's just literally like the carrot and the stick.
Absolutely, of course.
You're constantly trying to get closer to the stick, yet you haven't worked out
why
it keeps getting. It doesn't
Further
get any
away.
closer.
Even when I go twice as fast. Strange.
Yes, every time you speed up, the carrot is
what's
still
that about?
further away. Right, okay, so that's Derry Girls. Need I ask, presume it's full marks. It's perfect.
10.
Is it perfect?
No
for you?
doubt,
Okay.
no doubt.
Margaret Higgins, Derry Girls, absolutely fantastic on Facebook as well, and so say lots of people. Rightio. Okay, we're going to be talking about. We're going to get a look forward to the weather for you, by the way, before the top of the hour, to see how the weekend is looking and see what the forecast is for next week. And heading towards the end of next week, we have Carlo Weather on with us, giving you that information. And coming up after the break, we're going to be speaking to Oliver Callan. Stay right where you are.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Is your Skoda a little older? Pre-loved, perhaps? What adventures, I wonder, did it have in the past? Another family, another life, bright city lights, or a quiet country existence seeing Ireland's best sights? We don't really need your car's story. With a Skoda service, you get a complete vehicle health check, genuine Skoda parts, and free roadside assistance for 12 months.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 07497211396 or visit dmgmotors.ie.
Live exports soar as new markets beckon. For more in this week's Irish Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Israeli market to open for Irish weanlings as beef price heads for €6 a kilo. Dairy cow reduction scheme on the cards. We have the details. We have advice for your silage trailer health check, and we share top tips for sheep dipping and tagging.
Plus, we have all you need to know as a consumer before booking your summer holiday. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
The 21st of May 2022 will mark the 90th anniversary of Amelia Earhart's historic landing in Derry, Londonderry, when she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic solo. A number of events are taking place this weekend, 20th to 22nd of May, to celebrate her legacy. Visit www.derrystrabane.com/what's-on/Amelia Earhart 90 for the programme of events.
Is your car due a service? For the month of May, get your car serviced at iMotors Letterkenny and avail of a free vehicle health check and a free oil change. For more details, check out our website or Facebook. Call us today on 074 913 4567 to book in.
Terms and conditions apply.
This Friday, Around the Northwest is celebrating with a business marking 50 years in Letterkenny. We'll be live from Eamon Harkin Chiropodist, who first opened at Lower Main Street in May of 1972. We'll be chatting about the changes over the years and about Eamon putting his best foot forward so others can too. So join me, John Breslin, live this Friday from 12 on Around the Northwest at Eamon Harkin Chiropodist, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. So the big stars and the big acts and the big shows keep coming to the Northwest. Oliver Callan brings Callan's Kicks live to Ongrianon, Letterkenny on the 28th of May. The tickets are on sale, but I have a strong feeling you're going to have to get in really, really quick if you don't want to miss out. Oliver, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning to you, Greg. How's the form?
The form is, the crack is mighty and the form is good. Listen, it's great to have you on the show. It's great to have you up in the Northwest. It's been a while.
It has. I mean, this was supposed to be first tour in 5 years. It's now become 7 years for reasons we won't revisit, as everyone knows. And actually, part of the reason for doing these kind of chats with radio stations around the country is also to remind people who bought tickets way back in Christmas 2019 to get them out of the drawer and show up to the show on Saturday week in Letterkenny. Yeah.
I've said this before on this programme, so I'm not blowing smoke, so to speak. But I think some of the best political analysis in this country and how politics work, and maybe, you know, how some of the PR works, comes from your programme and not necessarily the nighttime shows that we see on TV. Is that something that you go out of your way to do, to achieve? Is that something with your particularly your radio show that you're proud of?
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the goal. You know, I trained as a journalist. I was a journalist earlier in my career, and I always say now, basically, I'm still doing journalism just through the medium of comedy. What I kind of see, what I do is like revising people. It's like revision lessons for Scandal. You know, you're kind of constantly reminding people of, you know, this thing happened, because we can't keep too much stuff in our heads about politics, and we forget who shafted who and why they shafted them and why that scandal happened and what was the result of it. And so that's kind of what we do. I mean, I was even noticing there was a SiteServe inquiry that finished, that has just been issuing its draft report, and that started 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's all about, you know, a write-off of 100 and something million. You know, the figures make no sense when they go.
Well, if you think that's bad, wait till you hear about the investigation into planning in Donegal. I mean,
yeah, well, Donegal is no stranger to scandal. Okay. But I was going to say, like, the cost of this inquiry is like way beyond what the initial loss of the taxpayer was. You're kind of going, which is the bigger scandal? And the fact that the inquiry was held in secret and is now just reporting stuff we already knew 10 years ago. And this is the solution to scandals that we have. So, and as you'll discover up in Donegal, I mean, a lot of people in Dublin, I think, probably assume, well, that Micah thing must be well over by now, because, you know, there was a hubbub a couple of months ago and everybody in politics said all the right things, and everyone just parks it then, and it doesn't become a national story for a while, and everyone just assumes it's over. A bit like the housing crisis, which is just perfectly normal now.
Yeah, exactly.
And was confined to cities and now is literally in every county. I'm from Monaghan, and I know people my age with their kids are worried about, well, you know, that's the prospects of them owning a home gone, and it just becomes so normal, doesn't it? So trying to find comedy in that is the important thing. And comedy is doing very well since the COVID restrictions ended, and people are coming out more and more to see comedy shows. And it is reminiscent of the crash time, when people raced out. Pretty much the only thing they were spending money on at the time was coming out to comedy shows to.
Which is good, because there's never a guarantee on that, because people can change in their behaviour. Just before we talk about what's coming up in the show, just in relation to what people would be familiar with your TV work, of course, and the radio show, and we talked about, you know, your commentary on what is going on and what has going on. Is there a balance of importance to you between, you know, the quality of the impersonation versus the sort of content of the script?
I mean, totally. I almost write off the idea of doing the voice in the first place. That's kind of the easy job, and then you have to get them to say something as well. I mean, I always try to, for the fun, sometimes not everything I do is entirely, you know, comes with a very important political point. I mean, there's Marty Morrissey. There's no deep, dark satire to be.
But the thing with Marty Morrissey is, like, I don't know who I know. Do I know Marty Morrissey, or do I know Callan's? Oliver Callan's Marty Morrissey. Do you know, it's like, well, I don't know which one. Are they one and the same? Is one real? Which one is real? I don't know.
I always found Marty the hardest voice to do, because I was listening to him and going, there's a character I really should do. And it would give us a bit of light to all the darkness of political satire. And I just heard him one day on the radio, and he just happened to say, Claire, because I know that Marty was he grew up in New Jersey, and he was about 7 or possibly even as late as 11 by the time he came to Clare, and he went to college in Cork. So there's kind of a little American twang in among the Claire. I mean, he'll say words like anyway, which is pure Claire, but he'll say Claire, and of course he's just talking that very American sort of style of speaking. And there's a sort of little bit of a smirk on his face that makes him look like he's a ladies' man. I'm just like, no one's ever suggested that Marty Morrissey has gone around the country.
Because we spoke to him at one, and he had to point out that he doesn't drink. He doesn't really party too much. Like, that's what he's going on his national tour telling people. But then I think he's planning Marty's parties around the country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Marty, I'm Marty and I like to party was a catchphrase that I thought was too dumb for television. And the director, James Cotter, when I was, when you dress up in these characters, sometimes you come up with a whole new script that you weren't planning because you're walking around the set of a TV show dressed as Marty Morrissey. And I just said, I'm Marty and I like to party. And I just thought it was too dumb. And the director insisted, no, we do it. And that just became the catchphrase. And I never thought it was really catching on until when that series went out, which was 2014.
Yeah.
I was doing my shopping, as you tend to do in entertainment, at 10 o'clock at night in a Duns in Dublin. And two people, I didn't even see them first. All I heard was just someone roaring at me, I'm Marty and I like to party.
It's funny too, though, how it influences. A couple of recent examples. Like when Dennis Waterman passed away recently, everyone was going on about he likes to sing the theme tune. He likes to write the theme tune. You know what I mean? This was, I believe that was mostly from Little Britain. I think, was it Dennis Norman? He had that catchphrase, and why not? Never said it in his life, but because of those doing the impressions.
Well, this to answer the long-winded way of answering your earlier question, which is the impression versus script, is that you kind of have to sneak in these things because, look, when you're doing Micheál Martin, you're portraying a real person, but in a fictional way. I have to create this character of what they might sound like behind closed doors, when Varadkar and Micheál are speaking to each other. And you kind of draw from, Micheál sounds like a very kind of prudent and very pedantic sort of a man. And I throw in this sort of thing because he speaks a little bit fast when he gets a little cock. So I throw in the thing, which he never does, which is going forward in terms of, because he says in terms of quite a bit, but I've kind of, inserted in part of his, because he sounds like he's kind of dithering a little bit. And there's always that thing they said about me, Greg, that I wouldn't make a decision when I was Minister of commissioning reports into reports and dithering and being very, very cautious.
Whereas, of course, Leo is very easy to do because his public and private are quite pronounced, because I don't mind saying problematic things about the homelessness out loud in public anyway. So I'm just, I'm a totes of baseballs ledge bag, and I'm glad that Brexit and the Northern Ireland Protocol is back, because that was the only thing that made me look and sound competent, is when I'm compared to Boris Johnson, who looks like a badly trimmed mop poking out of a pile of nylon suits left on the floor of a charity shop. By the way, I'm looking forward to going to Donegal. It's been my favourite part of Sligo for years. Do we still have people up there? I think we do. Oh, no, he's gone. He's leaving. Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay.
Fine Gael are pulling out of Donegal. Just want to announce that on the radio.
Okay, come here. The difference between the content of that's brilliant, by the way, Oliver. The difference between the content of the original ticket holders versus now is huge, and I suppose you've got people like Luke O'Neill that will be featuring, who's become sort of a staple that might not have been in the original show, perhaps.
He certainly will. Luke O'Neill is, you see, now when he talks about, he's very happy and everything's very positive, you see. And he throws in the stuff like, you see, and we're going gangbusters now at the vaccines, you see. Ireland Radio up in Donegal, yeah. Of course, there was a bit of vaccine going on out there, but with county by county basis, we're very excited. And he goes really excited sometimes when he's talking about things. And I'm doing my book, which I can't even say it on the radio because it involves a swear word, you see. But I even forgot what I was talking about at the beginning. But I am here, available to do every show till the end of time, forever and ever and ever.
Brilliant stuff. And I have to say, too, I think some of your content in Callan's Kicks was as it relates to the press conferences from Neffet and how they were run. And, we had no access. Obviously, it was only a small group of people and how journalists interacted with them. And I know it was satire, but like all good satire, it was hitting a couple of home runs, too. What was the blowback like that in small Dublin? You're bumping into these people all the time.
Well, I suppose the good thing about the upside to lockdown, if there was any, was that you didn't really bump into anyone when you're going around the business, which actually made it quite difficult to do comedy. And I had some bit of sympathy for politicians, because obviously the only way anyone knows anything that's happening in politics is when they are like out and about. And some of them do. I remember a TD telling me once that to gauge the feelings on the ground, they would often just push an empty shopping trolley around the local supermarket for about an hour, pretending to shop, and then just leave it there and walk out again, because people would obviously come up and talk about what's annoying them and so on. So they missed all of that, and as a result, we missed out on all the gossip that's happening within politicians, and we've returned to this kind of, this strange gulf. But it's a very odd political world we're still in. Because,
we're blessed with people like Paddy Cullivan, who you work with, of course, and yourself, who deliver, really important information, I think, sometimes, but through the means of comedy, and do it in such a great way. And people are going to meet all the favourites. Mary Lou's there, Michael D. Higgins, always a brilliant interviews of yours. Bertie Ahern, fantastic as well. Dermot Bannon's a great character, I'd imagine, and it's all intertwined through the show, through a story, and it all makes sense. So people are going to have a great night. Pierce Doherty, is he going to make an appearance? Because
we do a thing on accents, but absolutely. I think it's very important in Donegal that you get the kind of hard clipped accent, and because he says things like "dal" and "paisha" that people don't understand, comes totally from Donegal Irish, which is only for us. Okay. By the way, it's the Madam President here, Sinn Féin. Wonderful to be on the show. Love the purple background and everything. And Sinn Féin are preparing for government. Not me, obviously, because I'm too busy on TikTok doing the Macarena. But we have the nerdy dirties like Pierce and Owen O'Brien doing health, housing, and the other people deleting our internet history. All the important things in Sinn Féin were taken over. But more importantly, Greg, Brittany is finally free. All right? Chucking our pensions.
Okay. Right, Oliver Callan. Oliver Callan's Kicks live in on Green on Letterkenny, Saturday the 28th. You stand in for Ryan and RT1. Is that just enough for you in terms of the real serious stuff? I know his show's not particularly serious as such, Oliver. or do you like having the foot in both camps? Do you feel that journalism strings pulling at you? What's the story?
I think I'm a really good fit for the show. I like the show. I'm a fan of it anyway. And I think I'm a good fit because I like the variety is the spice of life. And I obviously will concentrate on what I do best, which I think is the comedy and the voices. But it's nice to dip your toe in there. And it's quite what you guys do is very tough day in, day out. I like doing it a week on, week here and there. And I'm kind of relieved at the end of it going, wow, that's kind of exhausting, because it is like, as one of the producers in there call it, like a gigantic WhatsApp group, because you have this responsibility with listeners and holding their hands through difficult mornings, especially when you're sandwiched between current affairs shows on either side of you, because people are recovering from one belt of bad news and you're trying to hold their hand on their way to what's coming. And I think comedy is like that. The comedy show is, you're coming out to learn and process things about the world, but you're going home with a bit of hope. Like comedy is all about look at us all here together. We're able to process this, and things are going to ultimately be fine because we're able to laugh at most things in the world now.
Okay, Oliver, listen, keep up the great work. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate all your time. All right, take care of yourself. Thank you very much indeed. Oliver Callan there. Callan Kicks live on Green on Letterkenny, Saturday the 28th of May. Tickets on sale. I believe he was due to be there before. Those tickets are still valid. All right, more from Emma and more from Michael after the break, and we'll have a look at the week's weather for you too.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
As we move into spring, it's time that we look after what is precious to us. Are you struggling with your hearing? Your hearing is an essential part of your everyday living. Hearing is our social sense and connects you to friends and family. At Connect Hearing, we are here for you with our clinics at Courtyard Shopping Centre Letterkenny and Joyce's Chiropody Clinic in Dunlow. Our centres are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Buy now and then split your payment over 3 months, interest-free, with Klarna at Tinny's Toys Letterkenny. Now that the evenings are longer, there's loads of great ideas for outdoor fun at Tinny's, like pedal and battery ride on tractors, cars and jeeps. Also a great range of outdoor toys like swings and slides now in stock. Shopping made easy with Klarna at Tinny's Toys, Leck Road, Letterkenny, and at tinnystoys.com for express delivery or click and collect.
Your energy savings start right here, right now with Bord Gosh Energy. New and existing customers can save up to €974 with our best dual fuel offer. Find out more at boardgoshenergy.ie. Discount on our standard unit rates for 12 months with fixed-term dual-fuel contract. Annual savings figure compared to BGE standard rates. Offer available to new and existing single-fuel customers. Unit rate and standing charge apply. See boardgoshenergy.ie for EAB prices and full T's and C's.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday with the family? You can now fly to beautiful Mallorca every Friday this summer with Ryanair and enjoy some of Europe's best beaches. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
Okay, well, let's get the detailed weather forecast from Alan O'Reilly, the founder of Carlow Weather. Alan, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I am doing good. Right, I didn't mind this week. I don't mind a bit of rain as long as there's sunshine in between the showers and as long as it's kind of warm. If that's my expectations, are they going to be met for the next wee while?
Well, the good news is there's some sunny spells arriving on the southwest coast of Donegal now, just coming in off the Atlantic. So that wet morning is going to improve. Some good sunny spells for later this afternoon and this evening, and showers dying out, but you could still catch one or two. The weekend, though, unfortunately, it's not going to be too sunny. There's going to be a lot of cloud around for the weekend. The winds will ease back a little bit, but still breezy. Temperature's not too bad, probably 16, maybe 17 degrees of a high. And there will be some sunny spells, but you're going to want to keep that brolly or the raincoat close by because there is going to be showers this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday.
All right, what does next week hold for us as much as we can determine, Alan, at this stage?
Yeah, unfortunately, the big thing is it's going to feel cooler. It's going to drop back. Temperatures won't probably get above 13 or 14 degrees in Donegal, so it's going to feel quite a bit cooler for the early days next week. And it's going to be showery. It's going to be sunny spells and it's going to be showers. So a lot of farmers at the moment looking to cut some silage. It's going to be hard to find a 2 or 3 day window that's going to be dry, unfortunately. So a continuation. The only thing is the weather models, the latest ones, have given a little hint that high pressure might just try and build towards the end of the coming week into next weekend. It's a bit far out yet, and it's going to build from the south. So, in the northwest, it's going to be maybe just on the border, but a little bit of a Good Friday feeling from the weather models. We might start to see an improvement.
Get in. Here's hoping. We'd like to see a lot of people maybe, low 20s. You don't have to go too far to where the temperatures are in the 40s. Way too hot for me. That's what they're seeing in parts of Spain at the moment.
Yeah, and increasingly temperatures are going above 39 degrees yesterday, and they're expected to go above 40, up to 42 degrees in parts of Andalusia in Spain. Very unusual to get that kind of 40 degrees temperatures in May, some records from May, and that intense heat is also coming up into south of France. So if you are heading away, then you do want to prepare for some very warm days. Now, it will start to ease off into next week, but also a lot of Saharan dust being blown up in the skies as well, so those yellow skies. So yeah, I'm like you. I'd much rather low 20s than 40s for sure.
Yeah. Now, if people want to track you, website, social media, where's the best place to keep in touch with you, Alan?
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. I'm always updating there. Just search Carlow Weather and you'll find my posts.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, thank you. Bang up to date there with the weather forecast, not just for today, but into next week. Right. Okay, sorry about all that conversation, Emma. It's a busy show.
It sure is.
Very busy.
Come here to La Axe, yeah. Stranger Things back on Netflix.
Yes.
I watched the first series of this, kind of zoned out after that. Did I make a mistake?
I think you did. I'm currently rewatching it. So for people who don't know, the 4th series is about to drop next Friday. And they're doing quite a unique thing on Netflix. They've done it with a couple of other shows, but they haven't done this with Stranger Things before. They're dropping it in 2 volumes. So the first volume is going to be dropped next Friday, and then the second volume is going to be released on the 1st of July. So
do we know if that's a strategy or is it production because of COVID?
I think it's a mix of things. I think probably to keep the hype going, and then also they were massively delayed because of COVID. And they've also said that this season is almost twice the length of any other season. So the episodes are going to be like, each episode is going to be like a film, you know, an hour and a half long. Wow. So obviously that's going to take up quite a lot of people's time. So they're probably making it easier for the audience to drop it in 2 halves.
Excited about it?
Very excited.
Is this the last series, do we know?
Second last, so the 5th series will be its last one.
Right, okay. And good story progression, it switches it up a bit, worth sticking with.
Well, it's quite a hard show to summarize, so I'm not even going to bother to attempt it. But if you like thrillers, if you like sci-fi, personally I'm not a big sci-fi person, but this show I make an exception for. The characters, everything's brilliant. The music, the 80s music is unreal. So yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't know 80s music. So
of course you wouldn't.
It'd be nice to get an introduction to that genre.
Why are you looking at me when you talk about the 1980s, Greg? You're looking directly at me.
To back me up, to say you're right, Greg,
yes,
of course. How would you know about the 80s?
I wouldn't know about the 80s either.
I actually really don't, by the way.
I'm just 23 also, so I feel like that's important to say.
No one asked your age. Come here. Did you ever get into this?
I did not like the first series. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Didn't like it.
I think I'm in the same boat with Mike.
Right.
Didn't like it. I just thought some of the horror elements and some of the stuff that was happening was very contrived. I remember a scene where there was the girl climbing into evident danger going through it, and I was
tree.
Like, tree.
I watched that episode the other night.
I was like, don't do that. That's a really stupid thing to do. And I never really recovered. I thought the cast were very good, but I was like, I finished season 1 and I was like, that's it.
Okay, fair enough.
But you know what? Sometimes I think it's the bravest thing to do. Obviously, relatively speaking, is to just pull the pin on something you're not enjoying.
Yeah,
there's no point in watching something you don't like.
Yeah. I gave it a whirl. And
I think you did a full series. Yeah. I think you give it a fair crack at it.
That's a fair shot.
Yeah, not for me.
So even
but I could see why people loved it, and I could see why it was working from a lot of people. The performance was very good. The kids are great. The nostalgia element, and the fact that it's doing homages to so many 80s movies. So I can see why it's working.
And the way it's shot, you can see the similarities.
I can see why it's a success.
I just find some of the characters a wee bit annoying as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's it.
They might find you annoying too, Greg. You don't know. Who knows?
Maybe they're on a radio station somewhere in America saying
the same thing.
Star Trek Prodigy on children's channel Nickelodeon.
Yeah, a Nickelodeon show. It's a Star Trek show.
Is it still a children's channel?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
This is a half-hour animated Star Trek series. It's brand new. They've been showing it for a while, but they're looping back to episode 1 on Monday. I've been watching this show. The fact that it's a kids show, it doesn't matter. Like one of the reviews I was reading through about it here from somebody called Alex Mady. Prodigy is a rip-roaring adventure that will keep adults engaged and make kids think.
I think there's kids shows which are evidently that.
Yeah.
And then there is the majority of shows that are
they'll work
for both audiences.
They'll work,
family shows.
And they're written for it. Yeah, exactly.
So this can be an entry-level show for a kid or a teenager who's never seen Star Trek and doesn't know about it. But if you've grown up with Star Trek like many of us have, then you'll enjoy this as well. It's a computer animation. It's not 2D animation like Star Trek Lower Decks, which is done like Family Guy or Simpsons. Mm-hmm. This is done like the Ice Age movies. You know, it's computer animation.
Yeah. All right, okay.
And it's a serial, and it's basically about a group of youngsters who are on a sort of a prison world, and they manage to find a Federation starship, and they hijack it and they escape. They're all a group of kids, different races. They're coming together, which is very much the ethos of Star Trek. And for me, as a huge fan of Star Trek Voyager, one of the coolest things about this show is that there's a hologram of Captain Catherine Janeway, and Kate Mulgrew has returned. So she's doing the voice of her character.
Do you sometimes you watch it as a Star Trek fan? Do you watch this and go, "Oh, this is a wee bit wasted on animation. They could have used this storyline for live action."
Yeah, I've thought
like that.
Not so much about Prodigy because I'm only 3 episodes into it, but the half-hour comedy show Star Trek Lower Decks, which is so really good. Sometimes I've often thought, why can't we have a live action episode where this happens? Because this is like there'll be a creature overrunning the entire ship, and you're like, this would work as a drama. So I do, sometimes think that.
Right, I don't know if you're familiar with Fanula's granny, but Fanula's granny is what she will and will not watch shows with.
Yeah.
Conversation with friends. We don't have an awful lot of time on this.
Yeah.
I think this is not a granny one. Have we seen it yet? Is it out?
It's naughty then, is it? It's just bad.
I mean, the episodes I've seen haven't been... Well, the second one was a bit...
So I might have to...
You have to be careful now because people are going, well, what actually is her bar here?
Yeah, you lost the bar, yeah.
I'd say, I mean, if you've seen Normal People, then I'd say it's generally along the same lines. Personally, I'm not a fan of this.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
See,
I love
this
normal
is what you have
people.
to do. Put stuff on the list that you don't like. Go ahead, Emma.
But see,
Take notes, Michael.
But see, the thing is, I loved Normal People, loved the book, and I kind of assumed they're obviously going to make an adaptation of Sally Rooney's first book, and that's exactly what they've done. I haven't read the book, so I don't know where it's going to go. Personally, I'm not going to find out. I'm not going to finish it.
You're giving up on it?
Yeah, here's the thing. It's beautiful. It's shot beautifully. It's just very slow. The characters are not likable.
Okay.
And there's one of the characters, Nick, played by Joe Alwyn, who happens to be Taylor Swift's boyfriend, which is mentioned in every single interview that he does. He's English, and his accent is not good.
Okay. Listen, theme tunes, Dallas. People of Dallas. Flying Doctors. Country File. The Fall Guy. See, we're in a genre here. The Persuaders.
Yes. Love the Persuaders.
Little House on the Prairie. Friends, which is iconic. Knight Rider.
You love Knight Rider. You love Knight Rider, yeah.
I would agree with that.
The Office USA. Pretty Little Liars. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't know.
Oh no, I would say that's quite iconic.
It is, but I don't like it. Saved by the Bell. Hill Street Blues. Airwolf. Brilliant show as well.
Great.
MacGyver. And which ones I haven't mentioned. We are going to go with where is it here? Who's going to win the goodie bag? Let me see here. Only Fools and Horses.
That's quite
good.
good.
Not go with that. I'm going to go with Cagney and Lacey.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's
a great
I don't know
theme.
who sent it in, but I'm just picking it as random. So we're going to get a goodie bag out to that person.
Excellent.
Emma, listen, thank you so much. Brilliant.
Thanks
you have
for
to come
having me.
back. It's been great.
I would love to.
That's fantastic. Emma, thank you. Emma Costello. Emma Talks TV, where can people check you out? Because you clearly love what you talk about.
That's my website, emmatalkstv.com, and I'm also on Twitter with the same handle.
Brilliant. Well done, actually.
Thank you.
I don't want to sound patronising because you're younger than me, but I think, build
Is
it.
she? I don't think she
build it
mentioned
and
that.
enjoy it.
Only
Might well
4,
be.
5.
Just
Michael,
once.
writer and blogger. I'm not even going to let you mention where people can see your scheduled posts.
Excellent.
You're back with us Friday. Emma, you'll be back with us again, I'm sure. And we'll be back on Monday. Stay tuned. John Bresson is coming up around the Northwest live from Eamon Harkin Chiropodist. He's got a spring in his step, John, today in Letterkenny. Harkin Chiropodists are celebrating 50 years in business. What a brilliant achievement. All right, have a great day. Have a great weekend.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering